Hi, this is Ani Imagination with the Zoroastrian and Cthulhu School of Magical Sciences, Wizardry, and the Arcane Arts. I have been studying all morning. I decided that I really need to just write and do research in the morning. I find that I am far more pleasant when I spend my time doing research and studying in the morning with writing. Those are like, that's it. That's my new thing. So I'm going to be starting lessons later after I spend about 3 hours doing research writing, because I can't, apparently that is like mandatory to my mental health. And if I don't do it, I get really cranky. So I really need to like do that. It's like, wow, that's fascinating. So this morning, instead of going online like I normally do, I decided instead to dedicate the morning to more studies. And I officially have the words. I am an Ashavan. That is what I am. I am an Ashavan who is the advocate, restoration, and preservation of Rata. Let me translate all of that for you, because I am so happy to finally get these words and go, ha 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 ha. I just had to like dive deep into the Vedic world in order to find these words. So I am an Ashavan who is dedicated to Rata. Oh my God, these words. These words are my words. I am an Ashavan dedicated to Rata. Yes. I am an advocate of Rata, dedicated to the restoration and preservation of Rata. So let me translate this. Asha is wisdom, which is literally King Solomon's work, and then it went on to the Zoroasters. I'm referring to like the 1000 BCE Vedic all the way up to approximately, Pythagoras and Plato. That's where my work ends, is Plato. I don't look at anything after Plato, because pretty much everything after Plato, Aristotle, of course, is part of this, but after they destroyed Athens, everything's tainted. Everything is untouchable, because now you've got a bunch of fucking idiots taking over the world and doing their own thing with it. So now everything is invalid after Rome steps in. So from this beautiful time period, that's all pre-Socratic, pre-Greek, and then the build and the rise of Greek. And then you see how this massive world opens up and steps into the Vedic and the Vantra. It's breathtaking. And when I followed my intuition and when I stepped into the world and selected, okay, who's the smartest and most wisest people on the world? They will be who teach me. And that pointed me to Plato, Pythagoras, Euclid, and that broke down from Zoroaster, Zarathustra, which came from King Solomon's wisdom temple. This work, this knowledge, was the fruit, the start, the seed to Hinduism. And it also birthed every fucking single one of your religions. So fuck you all. It is literally the origin of all of the religions. It's the parent religion to all of them. All of the religions that we have today, including Zoroastrian, is a branch off of this information. Now, this is interesting, and this is the part that I haven't dove into yet, is Solomon and then Zoroaster, which then led to what would be Hindu with Rata. Rata, so Asha is wisdom. And there is this dedication of the preservation. It's called the Ashavan. And this is the status of pure wisdom. It is where there is a purified logic and truth. It's the ultimate truth. It's breathtaking. In addition to that, the opposite is called the Druj. The Druj, or the Drugvent, is somebody who is tainted with lie. And there it is. There it is. The minute you have tainted lie, you are impure of logic. And now you have a position inside of you where you're a Drugvent. So you have the Drugvents, and then you've got the Ashavan. And a person basically works to become an Ashavan, or they don't. They're a Drugvent. So the ignorant or the uneducated is a Drugvent. And those who pursue wisdom is an Ashavan. This explains why I'm intolerant of illogic. This explains everything. I'm an Ashavan. Like, this makes so much, this explains everything. I'm an Ashavan living in today's world. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, so now Rata is the word in Hinduism, in the Vedic religion, Rata. It's Sanskrit. Now listen to this. Rata is order, rule, truth, and logic. It is the principle of natural order. And I refer to this, I've been saying this up to this point, if I refer to it as the natural order of logical events. And that is what I call it, the natural order of logical events. And that is the natural order which regulates and coordinates the operation of the universe and everything within it. Oh, fuck yes, it does. In the hymns of the Vedas, Rata is described as that which is ultimately responsible for the proper function of the natural, moral, and sacrificial orders. Sacrificial. Conceptually, it is closely allied to the injunctions and ordinances thought to uphold it, collectively referred to as dharma, and the action of the individual in relation to those ordinances referred to as karma. Two terms which eventually eclipsed Rata in importance as signifying natural, religious, and moral order in later Hinduism. And that's where the whole thing falls apart. You cannot eclipse the parent. So Rata is the order, the truth, the rule, the logos. Dharma and karma are actually the tools to preserve Rata. And that's where all of you have cut out the parent. And that's the problem. You cannot cut out the parent. That's the whole thing fucking unraveled. That explains everything. God, this is like, oh, the peace in my brain, the restoration of logical comprehension. So when I found out that, oh, I'm an Ashavan who's in pursuit of and looking to restore and put Rata back, and that's it. It's absolutely, this is why I am so aggressive about logic. It's because it's the purifying of the truth. It's literally the process of purifying wisdom. It is pure wisdom. Wisdom is when you've achieved purified logic. And there it is. So when you are, oh, this is so, yeah, a drugvent, ignorant. There it is. There it is. Drugvent. I was looking for that. I couldn't figure out where that ant was coming from. Ignorant and arrogant as a drugvent. There you go. And that's what I mean when I say stupid. Drugvent. There you go. See, these are the words that I've been looking for. The only equivalent I've had is stupid. And I'm like, what do I say to you guys? I am an Ashavan. As in somebody who's dedicated to Asha on such a fucking level as to there's truth and there is nothing else. And when you start to follow the pursuit of Asha, where you are using logic to purify all lie, it's there is nothing else. I cannot understand anything else but this. This is like the whole be all end all of everything. There is nothing else in my world. And when you dive deep into Zoroaster, when you look at early religion, like pre-religion, this is pre-religion stuff. And this is like, I cannot explain on such a level the parent religion and how much it's gone on to influence all these others. Now, the problem is you've got the Roman element, which has tainted the Christian religion. I won't touch the other two. I did not see them doing much work. In fact, when I was over in the judicial religion and Judaism, oh, I hate judicial Judaism. I see a lot of words there. So it's really like, I don't know. I have not dived deep into that world, not at all. So that is just over there. My work is all in Christian and what Rome did to that. I didn't see much Roman interference in the Jewish religion. So I haven't pulled that apart. I've looked into the Islam and Muslim religion. Absolutely beautiful work, really beautiful work. There's a lot of most truth there than what I'm seeing. The Christian religion is just completely mutilated on so many fronts. They changed that on so many levels, and then they changed it again, and then they changed it again. It went through a full reformation again in the 1600s. So I have never seen anything more doctored than the Christian religion. It's disgusting. It is 100% Roman written. 100% Roman written, because even the stuff that was allowed to be in the Bible was allowed to be there for the Roman agenda. So it's very, very, like, I go to the ancient texts. That's what I do. I go right to the ancient texts, which is why I use the ancienttext.org website for all of that reference, because I just read the original material, translated it, and then I analyzed the translation and the scholarships, the people who did the translation. I looked at that stuff. So that's where I went, okay, is this a person being biased? Is this a person? So I was able to assess the translator when I went into the ancient texts. So that allowed me to look at the original copies to see what exactly was going on there. That was very, very helpful. Ancient texts are one of the most beautiful things we have available to us, because it really allows us to step back into the ancient world. So I have this beautiful, perfect example of, I can see where my heritage begins. That's all Irish. That's my heritage. I can see where my educational system is pure ancient Greek. And I can see now where that ancient Greek educational system was influenced by Zoroaster to Solomon. I can see the sister side to that develop in the Vedic traditions. So I can see the relativity, the cousins of Vedic to ancient Greece. I can see that. So I have this amazing self-definition, identity. I have this amazing part of my identity that is linked to Irish heritage, which is linked to ancient Greek education. And then I've got this other, I've got this thing in me that's Latino, and I'm still, that one is on hold over there because I haven't been able to analyze that yet. And then I have, well, New York City, which is my home. Now I'm going to show you something, because this is amazing. This is the most extraordinary thing. So far, my identity consists of the heritage, the education. I have no idea what we're going to call it, Latino X, and then New York City. Those 4 things. Now, I'm going to completely remove Latino X because I have not yet done the research on this. So that's going to be exempt from this example. So my identity is composed of Irish heritage, education, and home. Again, heritage, education, home. Now, if you are raised in an area of X, Y, and Z, that is going to be a cocktail for your identity. The problem is, how do you sort out the abuse? This was my problem. I couldn't sort out the abuse. I could not. And when I studied all of these things, this is why I wanted to know how much my abuse was part of who I am. I needed to know how to separate my trauma from my identity. And in order to do that, I had to be able to track down the core of my identity. And when I did that, the Irish part was easy. I have Irish heritage. That was easy. My mom. When I looked at my educational system, and that's where I could not figure out an explanation. There was no explanation for it. My New York City home, that's solid in me. That's been there since I was 2 years old. That's solid. And figuring out my educational system was a nightmare, because I studied from Plato and that's all I had. So I just studied Plato. So my whole life I was like, well, I'm just studying Plato. I'm just studying Plato. So I'm Platonic. And I went through my whole education with that concept, but it wasn't adding up. I was seeing things in my personality that I could not account for. I was seeing love and interest and passions in my identity that I could not figure out any logic or reason to. For instance, my absolute obsession and love and passion for wisdom and truth. Couldn't figure that out. That was gifted to me through Plato because I was studying from literally Asha. I was studying Asha. Having no idea that I was studying Asha, I developed a passion and a love for Asha because I chose, without my knowing it, that educational system of the pursuit of an Ashavan. And because I chose that early, it drew me to that. So whatever you choose to pursue, you're going to be drawn to it. And when you choose it and you're drawn to it, that becomes you. It's the becoming. This is extraordinary. So now I have the ability to analyze in my psychosis. Psychosis, is that the right word? In my psychology, precisely which parts of me are heritage-based, which parts come from educational-based. And because the ancient Greek educational system is so fucking different from Irish heritage, I have a very clear black and white marker on both of them to go, oh yeah, definitely, I can see that. Now, in addition to that, I've got my gorgeous New York City here. And when I'm looking at that, I can see where that's definitely my New Yorker coming out. Okay, now that over there is my Irish. Now that over there is my ancient Greek. So now I can start to see them correlating. So when something pops up, I can now identify it and go, that is contributed to your heritage. So now the question, nurture nature. That's such bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now, all of nurturing is nature. That's why the words are almost identical. That's Roman genius there, which is Roman idiocy. That's it right there. That's it at work. When you go nature or nurture, you're an idiot. You are a fucking idiot if you think that way. Nurture and nature have the same word almost because it's the same fucking thing. Nature does nurture and it's the same thing. So that all being said, I can now see precisely where trauma ends and the rest of the identity actually begins. And this is what I learned. Your trauma is the mark of Cain. Your trauma is absolutely the mark of Cain. 100%. It's the mark of Cain. It is the dragva. It is the dragvind. It is the absolute interference of your education, your nature, your nurture, your heritage, and your home. It is interfering with those elements. That's what trauma is. Because your elements, your heritage, your educational system, your home, these three things are absolutely incompatible with the dragva. Now, here's the dragvind. Now, here's the problem. If your educational system is dragvind, oh, you're fucked. You already had that embedded inside of you. You are Romulus. You are. So you're going to need a new educational system to get rid of that. You're going to have to supplant the educational system. Now, I went through the same educational system and I supplemented it. I upgraded it with how I did it so that I was able to figure out, oh, I'm just going to change the language and that'll completely change everything. And it did. The thing is, every one of us has a primary code of Asha inside of us. That is nature, love, wisdom, logic, and truth. It's the same thing. We're all born with it. So long as you don't create with drugvind, you're fine. As soon as druj is the name. If it's Asha, it's druj. So as soon as you start to compose out of Asha, you're fine. If you create or compose out of druj, it's contaminated. If you pursue something out of druj, it's going to be contaminated. The only thing that is literally immune to pursuit or chase is wisdom. It is the only thing you can pursue without getting consumption. It's extraordinary. It is immune. It is the opposite of. So if you wish for wisdom, you're going to get it, and it's going to be at the purest form. When I looked at Solomon, I have no doubt that all he did was wish for or manifested wisdom, and thus it came to him. It's the same technique I used. All I did was wish for wisdom. I wished for truth. I wrote a fucking song on it. I don't care if it hurts me. I want the truth. I don't care if it hurts me. I want the truth. Like, I wrote a song called I Want the Truth, and I sang that as a child over and over again, which is actually the wishing and the manifestation of wisdom. And when you prioritize and you put truth on this massive pedestal, you are officially in pursuit of Asha. Now, to consciously be in pursuit of Asha, to consciously desire the statuses of Ashavan is, you can only obtain it through purified logic. There is nothing else. And in a world where you're an Ashavan, completely surrounded by the drugvind, it is a kind of insanity all in its own. It really is. It's a, how the fuck do you stay sane and kind in a world like this? And That is a challenge I face every day. That is easily a challenge I face every day. Is the thing that you know, the Rata, that is above all, that is the supreme of all, with ethics and truth and logic and order. Order as in order of operations, not order as in rule. Rule as in the standard ethical metric, not I'm going to boss and bully you around because I'm on this massive power surge. Completely different concept. Very, very much a druj mindset. And that's the problem. Most of you have a druj mindset and you're unaware of it because you don't have Asha. So as soon as you start to pull it in, as soon as you start to pull in Asha, as soon as you start to pull in the Rata, it changes everything. You sit there and talk about karma and dharma, but you have no fucking concept of Rata. You can't achieve Rata. You cannot live for Rata if you're not aware of it. Now, if you are pursuing Asha, it's naturally going to come out of you. You're going to do it accidentally. But you will become so much more powerful, so much more wise. Wisdom is power. They are synonymous. And when I started to really break down the word wisdom, wise, wizard, now it opened up an entirely different world. And it did. It absolutely kicked open that door. And I went, oh, wizard, oh, this is the beginning of magic. But it is not at all what you think it is. It is and it isn't. It is not an art. It is an art and a science. I don't know what dipshit decided to remove the word science from the concept. The art of magic, it's absolutely a science. It is both. I was able to reverse engineer sorcery this morning. I was able to reverse engineer black magic and figure out what that was. So black magic and sorcery is basically an ignorant or a druj who attempts to do magic. Now, whether or not they intend to do it with evil or not, basically they are hackers. They are magic hackers. That is what they are. Magic hackers create black magic. And it cannot last. It will deteriorate because it always disintegrates because it's contaminated with the mark of Cain. So even if you fuck around with black magic, it's not going to last. It's shitty magic. That's what it is. Black magic is shitty fucking low quality magic. That's what it is. It is low quality garbage magic. Now, the only way to produce high quality proper magic is with Asha. There is no exception. And the only thing that is pure Asha is pure logic. There is no discussion on this. The work has already been done by masters far greater than me. So unless you think you can argue with them, by all means, have at it. Now, Asha, wisdom. Oh, this feels so good to finally be speaking these words. Asha, 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 Asha. Just I'm going to say all the words that thus beeth Asha. And it's just going to manifest and it's going to be all over the place. Because thus saith I. I had a fear for a long time that I was going to run out of knowledge. I was going to go, oh my God, now what am I going to study? I can see the end of medical and biology and chemistry. And then I'm going to get down through that in a couple of years. And then what? I was so worried there would be nothing else left to study. I was looking, going, show me something new to study. Magic. Oh my God, I am so fucking happy. Not only is it something new to study, but it's like the best thing to study. So the other really best part of all of this is yesterday when I was doing research in Zoroaster, I found the missing link between Solomon and Pythagoras, and I was able to go, oh, holy fucking shit, there it is. And I found confirmation that Zarathustra studied from the school of Solomon, and then he taught Pythagoras directly. So Zarathustra, or Zoroaster, he had two names because one was Persian and the other is Greek. Zoroaster or Zarathustra, he taught Pythagoras directly. And then Pythagoras passed that knowledge on to Plato. So I am just so like, I started this in 1992, officially in 1995. And in 1984, that is really when that is when I like found my path. So at 4 years old, I found my path. And by 1992, I was already studying it. And in 1995, I declared it officially like, this is my path. And there was nothing else for me after that. I had that problem of what the fuck am I going to do for a career with an Asha? Only I worded it, how the fuck is a philosopher going to make money? And it was just, it was Asha, that there was nothing else. And it was the mindset in this concept that truth was all there was. Truth is the only thing that mattered. And it bothered the fuck out of me when I did the research on the word truth and no one could tell me what it was. The scientists all had it figured out. They had it figured out. The law they were trying to figure it out without science, but they used some science to come up with a system to figure it out, although they're fucking bad at it. All you need in law is logic. Everyone in law needs logic. A jury needs to be pure logicians. Oh my God. What the fuck? Why would you put a bunch of idiots in a jury? The question is not whether or not what they did was ethical or unethical. The question is whether or not they did it or not. And if you're not asking, you don't have ethics on the line. There's a court where you have ethics on the line to define ethics. And then you have the court where you are determining whether or not someone did, in fact, do an unethical deed. Like, okay, there's an unethical deed that has been done here. Who did it? So you have a whodunit court case. And then you have were you, in fact, unethical? The monkey trials, Inherit the Wind, is an example of, is this unethical? That is where you are weighing in a court of law to determine if somebody was in fact unethical or not. That is not what court is for. That is an entirely different process that requires philosophers and logicians present because they're the ones who studied ethics. But instead, your genius Roman system decided to take Joe Schmo at the grocery store to determine the ethical conversation of logic. Did you see the illogical insanity of Rome? Like, what are you doing? Drush. Just drush. That's all I could say is drush. The ignorant. The other type of law is crime has been committed, who done it? Now that you're going to need logicians for, pure logicians. There is no other way around it. You are going to require logicians. Mathematicians are about as close as we've got today. Why you guys don't have a jury filled with mathematicians running the calculations is beyond me. A jury should be nothing but pure mathematicians. They are as close as to what you can get with logicians. And that's all they should do is you should have a jury, not a jury of your peers. You need to have a jury of logicians to determine, did you or did you not do it? Now, if it's determined that you were unethical, now what your punishment should be, ask the peers. Now you need to ask the peers. See how there's that difference. So to determine if you've done it, that's logicians' work. To determine if it's unethical, that's philosophers' work. To determine what your punishment should be, oh, that's peer work. That's where your peers should step in. Okay, the mathematicians have decided that they did, in fact, commit the crime. And the philosophers have decided that it, in fact, was unethical for you to do so. Now, what should their punishment be? And that's where you ask the peers. If you were found in their shoes, what would you want your punishment to be? That's what they're trying to do. If monkeys did not run the world, that is what you are trying to do. That should be what is done. Good God, what a fucking mess. Okay. I have a whole lot to say on law and order. I have a lot to say on that. I do not get into it here because at the end of the day, what the system that we have in place when it comes to enforcement, police, and prisons cannot move until they cooperate with us. And until that day happens, I'm not touching it because they have got to maintain what they've got until they are ready to. It's going to be a process. It's a very complex process because you do have dangerous criminals who are unethical, and they are not governed by the ethics, which means you're going to have to govern the unethical with literally brute force. There is no other way. The only way to govern the unethical is with brute force. Now, what really is the problem is the brute force is too ignorant to tell the difference between the unethical and the ethical. So you have a lot of ethical people currently locked up in prison because the law program is shit. So the first thing that would have to happen is we would have to sort out the ethical from the unethical, which we can do that now. So part one would be sort out the unethical from the unethical. The ethical should be allowed to go free. I would bring in literally nothing but philosophers and mathematicians for this job. Notice how I did not at all say psychologists, because neither one of them studied ethics or logic. Specifically, philosophers and mathematicians need to determine if a person is ethical or unethical. The next thing you're going to want to do is use the logicians, mathematicians, to determine if somebody is in fact guilty of unethics. But in order to do that, you have to first define if something is unethical. Once that's established, then you would want to remove all the ethical. The ethical most likely just need education. That is it. Once they are educated in ethics, they're harmless. Oh, they will be perfectly fine. You can immediately introduce them right back into society. And I already have that work in place for the prisoners, for the ethical prisoners who are illegally being held. They just need education, which is why a lot of people do go into prison and they go into the libraries and they change their brains, they change their minds, they change their lives around, and they heal themselves because they figure it out that they need to be educated. So really, they need an educational program inside prisons, which is what I am working on. Now, once they gain the ethics and the education, then they're allowed to come out. People think that education makes a person dangerous when in fact ignorance makes a person dangerous. This is the dumbest belief by stupid people, is that stupid people believe that education is dangerous. No. Ignorance is dangerous, not bliss. Ignorance is absolutely dangerous. 100% of all abuse occurs because of ignorance on both the abused and the abuser's side. If you ever were abused, it's because you were ignorant. If you ever were an abuser, it's because you were ignorant. Only the ignorant suffer from this problem, not the educated. So when you step into the world of the educated, you actually become ethically safe. And then you start to, the more you learn, the more ethical you become. You cannot get education and not get ethics. You cannot. Now, if you take the information and then you try and bypass the education with just the information, now you are getting into, again, hacking. Now you're cheating. And now you're going to have garbage shit with low quality because it's ignorant product. So now you have a product of ignorance, which is what we refer to later as black magic, depending upon what you're pulling from. Now, in the world of the educational and ethics, what you want to do then with the unethical is, and this is the problem, the only way to govern unethical is with actual physical force. You're going to need physical strength. There is no other way. The only way to govern unethical is with physical strength. Hands down. There's nothing else. There is nothing else. The problem is the people who are doling out the physical strength really have to be educated so that they are actually targeting somebody who is unethical versus ethical. Now, you also have people who are mentally ill, but who are still ethical. And the idiots who are uneducated with the strength are targeting the mentally ill and the ethical and treating them like they are unethical, which causes them trauma. Stupid. So the people who have the physical strength require the education so they can tell the difference between the unethical and the ethical and the mentally ill. The mentally ill require education to sort out their logic. They require logicians. The mentally ill require logicians. Abso-fucking-lutely. The ethical just require the education, and the unethical, I have not touched that at all. I don't like going over there. I have not done any work on the unethical because they scare the fuck out of me. I don't like going over there. I'm just unethical. Those are the people. I've done a little bit of work, and this is where I've taken it with the unethical. They basically get their power fix from being smarter than stupid people. That's it. They get their fix from being smarter than stupid people. I get angry that there are people dumber than me. I get angry about that. I'm like, why aren't you all smart like me? What the fuck is going on? That's where I'm at. Like, I'm pissed off that everybody isn't at this standard. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong? I don't understand it. You have an educational system. Why aren't you smart? Like, that's where I'm at. The unethical enjoy that, and they prey on the stupid. And then there's the smart people who can't stand the stupid people, so they just isolate and hermit. So you have the isolate and the hermit, but that doesn't fix the problem. You have smarter who prey on the stupid and who actually get off on this because it makes them feel smarter, which is really stupid. And that's literally the catch-22 of the illogic. They are arrogantly proud that they have outsmarted stupid people. I don't, and that is about as far as I've taken the unethical. They view ethics as a weakness. And in point of fact, they're the ones with the weakness. So I can see the logical fallacy of the unethical. And there's no other way to put it. The unethical literally view the ethical as having a weakness. And they feel like they have found a cheat code around it that they can outsmart stupid people. But they're cheating. So they're proud about cheating. So that's the unethical. The unethical are the most illogical, which is why they are druj. That's why they are druj. So that's your unethical criminal mind. So if you have an enforcer, what you're really doing is you are looking for the unethical. And they don't know how to tell an unethical from an ethical because they lack logic. They absolutely lack logic. So, yeah, that they're just really not smart, which is why they bring in mathematicians to do their job a lot of times, is because they are so illogical that they can't figure out some basic things. Yes, it's basic for me. It's very basic for me because I have integrated math into my actual intuition, because that's learning. So, yeah. And here's the thing is, we live in the internet age. So there's no excuse. The moment the internet was invented, all of you became excuseless. All of you became without an excuse. Just done. Game over. You are now ignorant or uneducated because you have chosen to be. Because you've got the internet now. And it's just, the age of excuse is over. Like, between public library, the Gutenberg Project, Wikipedia, Khan Academy. Come on! Like, ignorance is officially a choice now. You've chosen to be stupid. You've chosen to be stupid. There is no reason why you can't learn to learn with the internet. Start with Pythagoras and Plato. They teach you how. Which is why I don't really want to go into a lot of it here, is because you can go fucking Google that. And that's the difference between enabling and doing it for you. I was watching my daughter this morning and working with her on something. She made these really cute Halloween decorations with we already have Halloween decorations up. I just processed. It's August 4th or August 5th, and there's Halloween decorations. They're fall. They're fall, she says. That's a jack-o'-lantern. I'm looking at a jack-o'-lantern. That's fall activity. So she's an artist. So her pumpkins are the cutest little things. They're little pumpkins. And she cut them out of dryer sheets and she painted them and they are so cute. And then she took like black thread and she strung them up and she wanted to make the garland. Now she is apprentice in logic, problem solving, and in math. So as she's doing this, I walked her through the step-by-step of this is what you need to calculate. Do you know how to build a formula? So I walked her through, these are the steps of building a formula. And I realized she was getting frustrated because she was struggling with the calculation. She was struggling with the math. She was struggling with technique. And at one point I said, do you need me to help you? And then I stopped and went, no, there it is right there. You know, there is no help. Watch this. I suddenly realized that my challenge was going to be learning the articulation to reverse engineer into Plato's point the correct instructions. That is my challenge. Hers would be to take Plato's point and then execute it in action. And I went, oh, I have to reverse engineer how to do mathematical calculation with just my words. Wow. While I was tense because my daughter was tense and I'm like, Now it would have been easier and I felt it to just do it for her. And I immediately jumped in and I said, here, let me do it. Whoa, no, you don't do it for her. She's got to learn this skill. I've got to learn the communication skill. Shit. So I went to the bathroom to think about this and I took my time. That's what that was. That's what that was. She goes, that's what that was. That's what that was. I had to think about it. It's my default. You got to think about it. I have to think. I'm going to go to the bathroom, which is my way of saying I'm going to go think about it and remove myself from the situation while I think and calculate. And I went, I have to learn how to reverse engineer the instructions via word. Did I do that? Did I or did I fail? Did I successfully give you the direction and instruction via word or did I suck at it?
Well, look at the product.
We see the product.
The product looks good.
The product looks good. You can be honest. Did I help or did I instruct properly?
Well, you didn't help with the spacing.
Shit, I helped with the spacing.
Why is that bad?
Because I had to practice doing. You had to practice the doing.
You did good. You helped me like my chapter and do this thing.
See, now we're running into the whole, the child wants to protect the feelings of the parent, which is,
I'm not.
you're not, are you?
Communicating. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Convince me that you have absolutely no bias for wanting to protect my emotions as a parent, please. Like, be brutal. Be honest.
I was being a bit grabby at the end, but
I was a bit what? Grabby at the end?
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that is hands-on. And that's the skill. That is the true skill of like, oh God, it's so fucking hard. It is so fucking hard. Because you're going, oh, I can do it faster. That is immediately the thought that comes into a parent's head every time. I can do it faster. I can do it better. I can just do it faster. Stop doing that, parents, me including. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. But I can do it so much faster. I can just do it. No, you can't just do it. That's the problem. Stop just doing it. Nike, I love Nike, but get the fuck out of this. Don't do it. Don't just do it. But I can just do it. See, that's Nike's marketing. Just do it. No, there is no more just doing it. For you, just do it, but not for them. You cannot just do it for other people. I can see it now with Nike's marketing. Just do it for yourself. Just do it, but for yourself, not for other people. Yeah, that was hard. That was hard. And it's the consciousness of, oh, am I becoming a master parent now that I'm starting to be able to reverse engineer it? That would be awesome. I'll look for that. So yeah, once you become consciously aware, that's when you, so this is skill development. This is it right here. It's you having to problem solve. And it's that question of, okay, how much, how should I do it? And a skilled teacher is one who can articulate precisely what you need to do with the order of operations, exactly how you need to do it. That is the skilled teacher. And that's it. That is it exactly. That is it exactly. When I talk to teachers, no, there was no talking to teachers. I tried. They did not want to talk. They like to throw poo. That is what they did. They did not talk. When I overheard teachers talking, what they complained about was students not wanting to learn. And if your student doesn't want to learn, that's the first sign that you're forcing them to be there without their consent. That is like the first clue. Getting mad at someone for not wanting to learn is the first clue that you have forced them there against their will. It means you are officially, what is going on with my hair? It means you are officially violating their power of choice and their right of rejection. That a person has no, this is so fucking saturated in our culture, it's disgusting. I have seen so many forum chats where people get angry because you refuse to be a student. It is the most unethical, most vile. You are angry because because they won't let you rape them. That's what that means. It is ugly and it's true. It is so fucking true. A teacher who gets angry at the student for not learning is the teacher who is angry for not allowing, for the child not allowing, or the student not allowing the rape. That's what that is. Because when you violate consent, it's rape. That's all that rape means. Does not have to be sexual. It can also be an energy rape. And it is an ugly word. It is the most vile and repulsive thing there is because it immediately is slavery. Rape is slavery. You have removed freedom and consent. So if you have somebody who does not want to learn and you're getting pissed off because they won't learn from you, you're now getting pissed off because they won't consent to you raping them. So that's a whole mess. That's why I won't work with teachers. That's why I'm like, no, because they're rapists. Most teachers are rapists, which is why I won't go near them. It's why I won't touch them. And then they get pissed off when they don't have a consenting student. Well, you have violated their freedom by removing their power of choice. So yeah, they're going to be pissed off because you are officially a slave owner and a rapist now. So yeah, they're going to object. So yeah, I don't go near most educators or teachers. So, and again, this is exclusively so far America. I have not seen this yet outside of the United States. In other countries, it's a completely different mindset. The students are there because they want to be, but the students are there because they've chosen to be there. So completely different atmosphere. When the students are allowed to choose, they run to school. When you allow freedom of choice, oh my God, they value school. So then they run to school and then they're begging teachers to teach them. And those are the teachers, those are the educators I work with. I will only work with an environment where the child has the right to reject the education. Oh, I will not work with any other facility. So when you look at the exchange of freedom, slavery, consent, rape, and whether or not, I mean, that's it right there. That's it right there. And now you're looking at the choice of ignorance. Now, when you look at the concept of free will, and this is this is it right here, this is where it gets really, really sticky, because you've got this whole, where you have children or students who have the violation of free will, the rape, where you have children who are experiencing sexual or non-sexual rape, you are looking at an individual that does not have any control over their free will. which means their freedom is now compromised. So now they have this power dynamic. Power is freedom. Power is pure freedom. And that is wisdom. And there you go. Power, freedom, wisdom. That there is nothing else here. Power is wisdom, and to get that, you need freedom. These three things are so braided and integrated together that they are inseparable. They are almost the same thing. Freedom, power, and wisdom. Like, I cannot emphasize to you enough how much consent is vital to this beautiful formula. And when you have this, you actually have love. That's when you have growth. That's when you have nurturing. It's absolutely beautiful. And this thing just develops. It is literally the right atmosphere and ecosystem for love and growth and nourishment. Is freedom, consent, power, love, wisdom, ethics. That is your gorgeous ecosystem. Now you're starting to get this beautiful thing forming. It's like bread. It's like sourdough bread. You've got a sourdough starter. That's exactly what this is. You have a sourdough starter. And then that will grow from there. But the moment you violate with non-consent, as soon as rape, again, sexual or non-sexual, comes into the picture, you are now officially in a slave setting. Your power of choice is gone. And now you have no free will. As soon as you enter into the world of no free will, now you're looking at basically a pursuit of freedom. There is nothing else. It will all be about the pursuit of freedom. There will be nothing else. So as soon as you put a person in a position where they cannot choose, that person is immediately going to switch over to, you must pursue your freedom. There is nothing else for that person. Freedom is all that matters. Good God, am I like talking from experience? There is nothing else. Now, if the person feels like they are not free, then they're not free. If the person has figured out that they are not free, they will go mad trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. They will sniff it out. They have Truman Show. Thank you. Genius. The Truman Show. He wasn't free. Oh, he felt it. He was like, something's going on. He was feeling a lack of freedom. And this came up in the show near the end where they like, if he wants to go, he'll go. Fuck that shit. He wasn't free. When you're free, there's zero resistance. That's really what you're feeling is resistance. We cannot have resistance in our lives. We cannot. Oh my God, we are so allergic to resistance. We have a problem with resistance. And resistance is, holy shit. My relationship with resistance, you have no idea. You have no idea. Like, resistance and I have a long history of, I resist resistance. I am just like, freedom, freedom. I could feel my imagination being limited. That's a box. It's limitations. I could feel my imagination needing to spawn out and just expand. And I could feel it literally, like I felt like wings were scraping the inside of this box in my head. And I'm like, I can feel, and I knew what those were because I defined it. So I knew, oh, that's my imagination reading the outer limits, playing it safe because I was afraid to expand my imagination further. And I remember that week of research where I just pushed my imagination to the limit. And I remember breaking out of that box. And it literally felt like I was expanding my imagination wings all the way out. And when I did that, I was like, oh, finally, my imagination is free. Oh my God, we're magic. That's the box they put us in. And I could see it. I could see everything. I could see everything they had done. And it was this massive, like, now I can understand. Now I can process. Now I can problem solve. Now I can run the calculations. Now I can plug in the missing pieces. Now I can fix the logic and the mess of history. Now I can understand. But you've got to be able to zoom out to the ultimate point of view to assess the overall point of view from the umbrella. And if you can't do that, you're going to be limited on your perspective, on your point of view, and on your position. So slavery is really blinding you. That's really what it is. It is a blinding process that forbids you from seeing. Don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That is slavery. And when you have free will, when you finally step into what free will really is, it is the words, I want, and there is no hesitation. There is no anything. I want that I have. You want and you have. There is nothing else. That is freedom. It's the I want this, I have it, the end. There's the story. There is no obstacle. Is it boring? Well, getting the fluidity of that status is not boring. It has not been boring in 40 years. It feels, I love that. Thank you, Liz. I love it. She's got Freddie Mercury and then my Pirates of the Caribbean with One Piece. It's like the most beautiful combination. I just got to say, I love it. It's like my little happy corner now because I got Freddie Mercury dressed as Queen on his last day of performance with One Piece underneath it and Jack Sparrow on the Going Merry. I'm so happy. Okay, so it's the I want and the I have. Getting to that point, oh, that's the fun journey. That is the adventure. That is the adventure. And it's mastering that skill of I want, I have. I want, I have. That's all I want. I want, I have. And that was secondary to Asha. I just got to say, that was secondary to Asha. It got to a point where I'm like, okay, I want Asha. I want truth. I want truth and I want Asha. It was always truth and then it was Asha. That was my order of importance. I wanted truth and then I wanted Asha. And then I went, oh, look, Asha gives me truth. How convenient. And then I went, oh, look at that. I can get so skilled at Asha and truth that I can literally simplify and smooth out the I want, I have process. Oh, this is nice. This is very nice. So now it's I want, I have. All right. So that's my new goal. So my goal is to go, I want, I have, poof, it's done. Because I've earned it. Good God, have I earned it? So truth, Asha, Rata. I am so happy. I am so happy. So, so happy. So, so happy. So, so happy. Free will is literally it's a ratio, it's a dichotomy. It is the amount or the quantity of resistance you have. Free will is when you have 100% no resistance. Slavery is when you have 1% or more of resistance. So that's really what this comes down to. Now you're going to have two kinds of slaves. Are slave owners. You're going to have the system. You're going to have the law system, the legal system. Like it is illegal for your child to not attend school. That is slavery. And you are also going to have, I need a word for this. Give me a minute. Narcissism. We're not going to call it that. We're going to call it consumption. So you're going to have consumption. So you have the legal system and you're going to have consumption. Now, for the ethical, there are some laws that do contradict the ethical. For the unethical, completely different topic. I'm not discussing that. But let's just take a look at the ethical. For the ethical, the legal system is a slave system. For consumption. But Thomas Jefferson already wrote a clause in there so that we actually have a way around that, which is perfectly fine. The consumption, I actually have a very, very simple law that once it's in place, it's going to fix all of this without changing anything else in the law system to keep it in place. And it goes like this. As soon as a person reaches ethical status at the seventh ethic, it defaults to the words of Thomas Jefferson, which is a person has to consent to being governed. And beautifully said, you have to consent to being governed, but you really cannot consent to you will consent to not being governed as soon as you become ethical. Like as soon as you reach the seventh ethic, you officially are in a position where you do not need to be governed. You have mastered the skill of government. And I'll tell you why. You will have then trust and justice as both of your cardinal rules. So as soon as you get to the seventh ethical perspective, you will have two of the cardinal rules, which is trust and justice. You won't need a justice system at the seventh ethic, which means everything at the seventh ethic and on, you're officially more ethical than the government. Officially. Which, going back to the Declaration of Independence with what Thomas Jefferson said, you have to consent to being governed. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely a beautiful little, I no longer consent to the government governing me because I am officially self-governed. I am ethical enough now to govern myself. I have my own justice system. Believe me, it is far more strict than anything that the government has. Believe me. And the standards for my justice system is insanely higher than their garbage. Their problem is they are too lax in their standards. They have idiots on a jury. Like that's it right there. I want mathematicians and logicians on my jury. That's who I want. That is, bring me physicists. They may judge me. Like that's, yes, physicists, philosophers, logicians, they may judge me. There you go. So, yeah, I want somebody who has mastered the art of ethics to judge me. There you go. So, but again, if I cannot go near the world of the unethical because it hurts. So you see how this keeps going around and around in itself. It's really interesting. So really, that's your legal system. The next thing is that consumption. Your free will can get obstructed by consumption. And this is where you're going to reach a problem. Now, you're going to have two kinds of consumption. You're going to have internal and external. This is your problem. If you do not feel like you have a choice or free will, it's because you have consumption. Now, in addition to, this is really important because this is where my personal experience kicks in, and this is where I get really fucking pissed with people. So you are dealing with consumption, or you are dealing with actual chains. Now, I've done both. So, free will. I have had my self-preservation weaponized against me, and that's what this is. We are talking about the weaponization. Thank you. A jar.
I can paint the top.
I probably don't want I want the top because I'm going to want to shake up my jar. We're going to do a jar. I love doing jars. Jars are, we put ideas in the jar. And then when I have nothing to talk about, I shake it up and I go, this is it's like things from a hat, only it's going to be weirder. So yeah. You may decide to paint the top if you want. You're the artist. If you want to paint the top, you have permission to paint the top. You hate the words. Okay, you can decorate that however you want. Go nuts. Artistic license. I love artistic license. It's my favorite. Every time I hire an artist, I have a conversation with them that goes like this. I'm giving you artistic license. I trust your artistic intuition far more than mine, and you're the one doing the project. I am hiring you for your artistic intuition. So please, absolutely go nuts. You do whatever. This is what I want. Whatever you make of it, make it yours because it is artistic license. And I love doing that to artists. Oh, they love it when I do that to artists because they're like, yeah, freedom. I can do whatever I want. Like, have at it. Paint the scene. I love artistic license. So self-preservation, this is really what's going on. So you have the legal system. And so this is where you are officially more ethical than the government. Now you've got a conflicting interest with the legal system. And then you've got free will with consumption and free will with, well, it's consumption, but it's internal versus external. And then you have literal and physical. And then you have self-preservation. Now, I'm going to be blunt. I have experienced every fucking form of all of these, which is why I know so much about all of these. So self-preservation. One more. Let me take a look here. I'm going to count. Let me take a look at my altar for a minute. Let's do it. I suffered from self-enslavement due to self-preservation for 32 years. Welcome to multiple personality disorder. It is actually self-enslavement for self-preservation. I have suffered from self-enslavement consciously. That was a fucking nightmare to unravel. You have no idea. For self-preservation purposes. I did it both subconsciously and consciously. The conscious part was the hardest to get over. Dealing with that was fucking hard because you are your own slave master and you chose it. You had to, for self-preservation purposes, fucking hard to deal with. And then you have the internal consumption, which is fear, just fear. And then you have the external consumption, which is fear. Fear of people pleasing. That's where people pleasing is, guys. And then you have external God, I don't even know what to call this. There's no word for it yet. The external consumption was my own fear. It was my own fear of if I don't do X, or if I do X, then I won't be loved. If I don't do X, then I won't belong. Then I'll have no food. Then I'll have no. So, and yeah, that does go back to self-preservation. So I had my own fears, but that stuff wasn't an actual reality. That wasn't an actual logical possibility. I need to use the word possibility, not reality. It was not an actual possibility. So it was illogical. It was an illogical fear because it wasn't even a possible fear, but I was still afraid, so I didn't do. And then there was the external, which is where people would say to me, well, don't you love me? And that's where that is it right there. It's when they put themselves in a position, and this right here is it right here. This right here is the big one. It's the external consumption, but it's illogical and it's delusion. And this is the big one. We're going to be coming back to this one. The next one is the external threat. Oh, I have the word for this. This is is it blackmail? It's extortion. It's extortion. This one is the hard one. The external extortion. I've had them all. External extortion is if you scream, I will kill her. It's if you do this, I will have them kill you. If you do this, then I will make sure this happens to you or someone you love. That's extortion. That was the one that enslaved me with chains for 6 months. And then there's the physical chains. There's the kidnapping. And then there's the actual slavery, like locked up. Been there, done that too. Was there for 6 months. Now I'm going to be blunt. All of these felt the same way. All of them felt the same way. Every single one of these felt no different. Me going to a day job and having to punch a time clock felt exactly like being locked in a room where I was tortured for 6 months. Same thing. Did not have a choice. If you do not go to this job, then you will not have money and you will die because you've starved. Same thing. So when somebody says I don't have a choice, I did not have a choice for my self-enslavement, unconsciously self-preserving me with my altars. That was not a fucking choice. That was slavery. Self-enslavement on purpose, consciously, because I had to lock myself in my room and barricade the door for over 20 years so my brother wouldn't beat the fuck out of me and kill me or mutilate me like he did the animals I got to witness. Not a fucking choice. Slavery. Illogical possibility with internal consumption. That was a choice. That's beautiful, Liz.
Okay, it's gonna dry. It's very thick.
That was a choice. But it was a choice I did not know I had. But it was a choice. That was just my own ignorance. Now, once I figured that out, I figured it out when I was like 15. I'm like, oh, fuck this shit. I think, was I 15? Let me think about this. When did I get over illogical impossibility? Internal consumption? See, I have a thing about me where when I recognize it, I go, oh no, fuck that shit. And I go right into it. I have been doing that, well, since 1992. So I was 12. Yeah, so since 1992, that's when I broke out of that one. So ignorance is actually what's keeping you there. The next one, the extreme people protect me, the illogical delusion, the belief that you have to preserve somebody else's feelings or else who will love them, that's fucking bullshit. That is manipulation and your ignorance again. That is a choice. That is a choice. That is your free will. Now, extortion, that is not a fucking choice. Wait a minute. This was advanced education. That was advanced education. See, I had to figure out how to escape logically and safely. So I planted a letter and then I left at night in silence and secret. And then I got a restraining order, literally. And then I report, yes, the very next morning I got a restraining order. Yes, this is how I did my first extraction. She's like, high five, yes. So wrote a letter, and this is how my 6 months ended, is escaped, wrote letter, escaped, left in middle of night, got a restraining order, made sure he had a police report, and then completely severed all contact. Oh, I found the core of that. Oh. I need a minute. I just unlocked a mystery of my behavior. I have this thing in my brain of when you break up with someone, you sever all contact. You break up and you sever all contact because they'll kill you. So that's in my head. And I just, that's where that comes from. Sever all contact. I see. That makes sense now. Yeah, I'm still. Okay. Well, now I know the root cause and I can deal with it. All right. Fantastic. All right. So there is a problem solution. Now, unless you are literally physically restrained and locked up, it could take time. That's not you. That is not choice. That is absolutely enslavement. Now, that is under the extortion, and that's the kidnapping. So I think about the Colorado kidnappers in reference to this. The Colorado kidnapper is a great example of kidnapping fucking slave, not a choice. These women were literally in chains, literally under lock and key for 10 years. All three of them. Literally, like the whole place was boarded up like a cell. And they were kept in the basement under lock and key with chain, like for 10 years. These women were not fucking free. So there is your kidnapping slavery, and that is a legitimate fucking case of you are a slave. With extortion, it is due to ignorance. You've just got to find a way around it. It is highly advanced. You've got to be really fucking smart to get around extortion. So self-enslavement, unconsciously self-preservation, that is not a choice. That is slavery. Self-enslavement, conscious self-preservation, you having to lock yourself up on purpose to keep yourself placed, that is slavery. It is consensual slavery. It is still slavery. Well, no, if it's consensual slavery, you're fine. It's non-consensual slavery. It is not consensual slavery. You had to do it to survive. That is slavery. That is not free will. Now, 3 of these are free will. 3 of these are not free will. So I am in a fucking position to teach people what free will really is and what it's not. I fucking know. Now, in the case of self-enslavement for unconsciously self-preservation, that is multiple personality disorder. And that is absolutely slavery until you finally learn how to learn. And this is it. I had to learn faster than I could self-preserve. I had to learn faster than my subconscious mind could self-preserve. Fucking hard to do. The next stage after that is learning faster than time. Literally, there's learning faster than self-preservation. And what I refer to as learning faster than self-preservation is you have to learn faster than the speed of synapses. So there's self-preservation, speed of synapses, and then time itself. When you learn faster than self-preservation, synapses, and time itself, all right. It was when I learned faster than self-preservation that I was finally able to change, listen to the words, change slavery over to free will. So I had to use education to change slavery over to free will. That was for my self-enslavement with my multiple personality disorder and my self-enslavement consciously for my self-preservation. Now, as soon as I had the opportunity to change the self-enslavement consciously for self-preservation, oh, you bet your fucking ass I did. So my goal there was literally, I had to wait to be 18 years old so I could move the fuck out of that environment. And I did. So actually, that's not true. At 2015, no, I still stay enslaved myself. See, in 2015, I fought my brother and overturned the power because I stood up against him. Well, he wouldn't beat me after that, but boy, did he go after the dogs. So then there was this, I had to stay for the dogs to protect the animals. And it wasn't until we were finally down to the last animal in the house that I finally allowed myself. I could not ethically leave until every animal was out of that house. So that's why I stayed until the year 1999. 2000, that's the year, 2000. Why the fuck can't my brain do simple math sometimes? Like, what the fuck is going on with my brain that I can't add 1? Do you have that? What the fuck is that? I just did that really simple mathematical thing. That was hard for you. Okay. Well, that had 5. Oh, this is like why I can't play checkers. That's what's going on. Am I officially at a point where I can't even add 1 + 1? Of course not. No, that's ridiculous. Interesting. I'm going to have to look at that later. So anyway, yeah. I knew I was enslaving myself. I knew I had to. This is, like I said, of all the slavery types I've been under, this one was the fucking worst. This one was so fucking hard because I was my own slave owner and I chose to do it. It was so fucked up, but I had to do it. So it wasn't really a choice. It was so hard. It was not a choice. It was survival. And that's immediately where are you messing with the cat? He's so cute. The cat is playing in a pushing blanket. So when you get into the world of the internal consumption, where the only thing trapping you is your ignorance and your stupidity or your education, you do not have, ignorance is no excuse. You are responsible for your own education. And that's what this comes down to. Most of the stuff is not difficult. It's not complex. It's not. It is simple. You are that uneducated. And you've chosen to be that uneducated. So in things like internal consumption, if you are dealing with internal consumption, if you are dealing with external consumption, that is not an excuse for your, that is not free will. That is not slavery. That is you being stupid. So now you've got this thing where you are either stupid and you've chosen it, you're just too stupid to realize you've chosen it, or you legitimately are enslaved. Now, from somebody who has suffered from literally all forms of enslavement, it really pisses me off when stupid people claim to not have a choice because I'm going, no, you're just stupid. Because believe me, I've seen the other side of everything else here. And trust me, you're free. You're just stupid. So that's really what this comes down to. And 3 of these, 2 of them are like, you're really fucking stupid. If you are enslaved to consumption, either your own or a third person, you're stupid. If you are dealing with extortion, now you're getting into actually, extortion is advanced education. Extortion is advanced education. You're still going to need education. You're still stupid, but that's in relativity too. So if you are somebody, the smartest thing I ever saw, this is an example of it. Charlie Sheen was being blackmailed. You know what he did? Smart man. He went on Public USA Today and said, this is my dirty laundry. I'm tired of being blackmailed. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. He got the cards right. If somebody's blackmailing you, you need to confess. Take away the power. So extortion, depending upon how it's done. If they're doing the whole, I'm going to cause you harm or I'm going to kill you, I'm going to tell you right now that don't. That is where you hear shoot the hostage. Yup. Take away their ability. This is about power dynamics. That's all this is. They are playing an advanced tit-for-tat strategy. And if you had studied logic and mathematics, you would know that this is just tit-for-tat strategy. So you've got to learn more about tit-for-tat strategy in order to trump extortion or blackmail. Now, let's say you're 8 years old, you're 5 years old, somebody's now using extortion. Okay, now you're a child. Now, I mean, come on. Yeah, now you are a slave. So 5, 10, how long do you think it's going to be before that 5, 10-year-old says, fuck this shit. I'm going to make sure I have the knowledge so it can't happen to me again. Now you're smart. Now, the time period it takes you to get that knowledge, what did I say? If you're not learning, you're stupid. But if you're in the learning process, okay, you're working on it. You're immediately exempt from stupid if you're learning. Too many people aren't learning and are complaining about abuse. Abuse is a choice. Multiple personality disorder is not a choice. But the only one enslaving you there is literally your own self-preservation system. No one else. You're needing to lock yourself up to keep yourself safe. Been there, done that. Fucking hard. You're going to have to deal with that later. It's fucking hard. And it's just the best way to say is you did your best. You did what was necessary to survive. Extortion, learn tit-for-tat strategy. You're going to have to outsmart them. It's fucking advanced. Literally kidnapped, literally locked in chains. Slave. Absolute slave. But fear of consumption, you're just full of shit. You're just an idiot. There's just no other way around it. You are stupid. You are so stupid that you don't recognize free will. So now you've got people who are talking about free will, and you are talking about people who don't have a choice. You have a choice to be educated. You have a choice to be ignorant. You have a choice to be stupid. You have a choice to problem solve. If you are too stupid to realize that you have the choice to get smart, do you realize that that's where we're at now? A lot of people are here where you are too stupid to realize you can choose to be smart. Good God, this is how bad it is in our culture right now. Is people do not know that it is a choice to be educated. And that there is just, no one is telling you to not learn. You have a fucking phone in your hand. You're choosing to fuck around on TikTok. So, like, Wikipedia's been there since 2001. Like, really, at 2001, game over, all of you lost the excuse for stupid. Now, there's just no excuse for it. There's just no excuse. So, when you are talking free will, what you are really referring to is something in economics that is your risk and you're talking about loss. Now you're looking at scarcity. Now you are weighing in, you're literally weighing in your resources. And that's really what's in play here is when you don't have a choice, it's because you fucking can't, and your resources have nothing to do with it. Your resources and the risk do not take into account when you have no free will. If you are choosing a shitty situation to hold on to resources, you've chosen to be abused in exchange for whatever the fuck you're getting. You've actually entered into an economic situation of trade and commerce called resources for pain, abuse. But I wouldn't call it abuse because you've chosen it. It's resources in trade for pain and suffering. Well, that's the value and the worth you have officially put on your pain. Okay, so your resources you feel should cost you suffering and pain. There's another way to get resources, but again, you chose to be ignorant. So now you've got somebody who says, I do not have free will because I literally cannot learn faster than my self-preservation allows. Yes, that is correct. You cannot. It took me 30 fucking years to learn how to do that. And I teach you how to do it, by the way. So technically now you don't have that as an excuse either. But like I said, more research needs to be done on it, and 30 fucking years of research to learn how to think smarter than my self-preservation system could act. And then you've got, after the free will, you also have literal chains and bonds. And then you've got extortion. Now, extortion is going to be it's slavery until you have the lessons, you have the knowledge to get free. So you are literally in race to your own knowledge while you are also contending with your free will. It's fucking hard. Not free will, I'm sorry, with your self-preservation system. So you're actually dealing with your self-preservation system plus trying to learn with your self-preservation system going off. That is free will. It's when you want and you can not do. There is nothing else. You can't do it. You literally can't do it. You cannot outthink your self-preservation system. You cannot learn and get smarter more than the extortion tit for tat strategy that's highly complex. You cannot break your chains and bonds. You officially have no free will. You are officially a slave. But if you can learn so you don't be a dumbass, oh, no, you're not a victim. You're an idiot. So now if you are looking at consumption, if you are weighing in well, what about my resources? Well, you're just stupid. So if your resources are factoring into your choice, you've got a choice of learn to get resources, learn with resources, learn to know more, to figure out what education is, to problem solve. And then there's something I'm trying to say here. And I keep, I feel like I'm circling it, but I'm not getting right on point. And I'm going, what is the point? What is the point? What am I trying to say? Let me think. Because I feel like I keep rewording it, but I'm like, no, I'm not saying what I want to say, and I'm trying. So let's get closer to this. You are free to learn. No one is stopping you from learning, dumbass. You have free will. There, that's what I'm trying to say. That's it, right there, right there. That is it. You are free to learn. You are free to learn. You've always been free to learn. You have not been free to be stupid. You have not been free to learn good material. Actually, you have. As soon as 2001 occurred, everyone was free to learn. There is no excuse. You are free to learn. You've chosen not to. So now all of the bullshit, oh, well, I'm scared. Well, free to learn. Why haven't you Googled what fear is? Why haven't you studied why haven't you studied how to study? So now, and that's just it, is you were free to learn. That is it right there. Free will is when you really fucking can't. The girls who were kidnapped during the Colorado kidnapping did not have internet, did not have knowledge, did not have anything except literal chains for 10 years. Those girls were slaves. Extortion, highly complex, highly advanced problem-solving skills. That is like advanced. I'll give extortion to you. And like I said, Charlie Sheen, fucking example, great example of that. He went on public television and aired his own dirty laundry and completely severed all ties. Beautiful. Beautifully done. Absolutely beautifully done. You are always free to learn. The moment you are free to learn, you've lost all excuse. Now you're just a victim. And that's it right there. So the reason why this is so important for you to know is because once you accept that you are free to learn, that you could have been researching and studying this whole time, you just give your power back to you. So acknowledging your own power is what empowers you. Acknowledging your own self-authority and your own choice, that you chose ignorance, is what empowers you. Power is just knowledge and wisdom. That's all it is. Power is wisdom. It is literally, it is Asha. I cannot explain that enough. Power is Asha. There's nothing else. Power is Asha. I have people who meet me in real life, they hug me and they're like, oh my God, your power. Like, wow, your energy. Asha. It's just Asha. I would say, I was looking for this a few days ago where I was trying to explain what this thing is inside of me. And I'm like, I don't know what to call this. It's Asha. That's what it is. It's Asha. Yours is either really, 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 really fucking weak, or it's on the spectrum of really, 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 really fucking strong. That's your Asha. That is what it is. So you have your frequency, you have your energy, which is your emotions, and then you have your Asha. Your frequency is which perspective you are in. That is literally the ethical equivalent of how much Asha you have. Oh, that is such gorgeous wording. That's it right there. It's literally your rate of, or your frequency, or your pulse of Asha. It is literally Asha's pulse. Your energy is your emotions that come in, they pass through you, they go out. And then force, love. See, now this is where I'm going, well, that's Asha. Oh, this is breathtaking. This is beautiful. My dragon is named Asha. So this is like a double happiness for me as well. Not only do I have the Asha, but I also have Asha herself. We're trying to figure out what gender she is. For me, it's a girl. I see a girl. But the guy I'm speaking to is like, he's like, I can't figure out the gender yet. And he calls him a him. And I'm going, I wonder, you know, it would not surprise me if Asha was transgender. It would not at all surprise me if he was all over the fuck place. It would not surprise me at all. Farragon is all over the fuck place. Why the fuck would Kala, like all of my like probably 3/4 of me is like all over. Sometimes I'm a girl, sometimes I'm a boy, I'm all over the place. So that's interesting. So I'm like, all right. Like gender fluid is really a gray. I am so fucking fluid, it's disgusting. That is really truly like just gender fluid. It's all over the fuck place. So yeah, as soon as I got onto the 7th, I'm like, well, gender doesn't exist anymore. It's literally, it's a non-constant. It's all over the fuck. It's literally a non-constant. See, this is where you really need math, because math teaches you that there are variables and gender is an actual variable. Now you're going to have two kinds of variables. You're going to have the gender variable inside of you that's a variable, and you're also going to have the external, which this is where really stupid materialistic people don't understand this. They just see the physical body and they're going, well, gender isn't a variable, but they don't understand the internal gender. But there is no internal gender. The internal gender is whatever the fuck you feel like being that day. But now you're talking about whether or not, and this is what I like to refer to it as, are you a nurturer? Are you a provider? And this is what I go by: nurturer, provider, and warrior. And these are the three pieces. You are either a nurturer, a provider, or a warrior. Now, these three things are 100% fluid and in ratio to whatever the fuck you need. And that is what they are referred to over here. So as soon as you cross into the 7th, masculine and feminine immediately end. There is none of that. There is no gender. What there is the nurturer, the provider, the warrior. The nurturer is soft and gentle. That is really fucking pretty, Lizzie. Here, can I show the people? So this is my daughter's Halloween stuff. Like this is the kind of stuff she does. And I've got stuff like this. Like I said, I am her patron of the arts. I've got a live-in artist. So I'm like, yes, this is beautiful. So she does all the art stuff. This is not hers. This is not hers. I have to clarify. But she does all the art stuff, and her style, what she's developing it into, it's going to look like that. I'm like, I've seen some of the work she does and I'm like, oh, that's where you're going. I am so happy. So that's beautiful. Yep. That's beautiful. The tape doesn't work on it. It doesn't stick. We're going to have to problem solve the chemistry. You need adhesive. You're going to have to problem solve adhesives. So that's where science talk. Okay, let me try changing that into normal common talk. Use a different tape. There. What? Oh, you're using the heavy duty stuff, and it's still not working. So I'm thinking tactile. So polymers. Maybe polymers is what she needs. Like my chemistry brain is starting to turn on and I'm going, we have this tact, this sticky tact. That might work. Yeah, I don't know where it is either. You could also get like tacks and tack those in also. That might be a possibility. Okay, she's not going to stab her door. All right, so I don't know. We'll have to problem solve it later. So the nurturer is soft and gentle. And that's where it's more of your ethereal and delicate side. And then the provider is more the working side. That's the working side of you. That is you're on a mission. That's really it, is working. It's like an in-between between warrior and nurturer. Now, warrior is when you are, and this is a dichotomy. This is really it. It's a dichotomy again, where you're going to have a ratio, and it's going to be constantly moving and moving as you've got that nurturer to warrior. So sometimes your warrior is going to be there, and then you've got to turn it down over to the nurturer. I can't do this yet. I really, really struggle with the nurturing part because I've been warrior for so long. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. You're going to see it come down. Every now and then I go down to that mothering, nurturing, and that's when it's like, oh, I'm there now. And I love it when I'm here. But I don't know how to stay here yet. I don't know how to manage it. And I'm learning how to regulate this. And it's because I've been in warrior mode of destroy, kill, survive, get through. Like I was literally in the no man's land for 40 years. I was in no man's land for 40 years. And then I was in Freedom Central from 2020 to, give me a minute, I'm thinking, 2023. So for 3 years, I was like a rover. I was a wanderer, where I was just like, oh my God, freedom. And then in 2023 to today, 2024, that was the hard fucking core. That was Vashana becoming. That was just me like, I was done with it. That was when I went through my, how do I even explain it? It was definitely a pilgrimage, but it was a pilgrimage on steroids. It was pilgrimage with Asha And I was going to the rata. Like, I was like, I'm done with this shit. I want it over with. I wanted the fucking truth, and I was going for it no matter what. That was... So trying to learn how to turn down the warrior and then moving into provider. And that's where I'm at now, is I'm more provider, and then I keep spiking up to warrior, and then it's like, no. And every now and then I spike over to nurturer. And I'm like, okay, I got to sit, especially in the afternoons, I'm down in nurturer. So I've now, when I am, and I think this is what it is, I think this is why, is because I was educated under intent to escape. So I might have an association of knowledge equals my freedom later. So that might be in my programming, where for me, it's don't fuck with my education. Don't fuck with my logic. Don't even touch it. And the reason why is because this is the shit I use to fucking escape. Like, all of it, over and over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of slavery. Like, that is it. Fucking hard. Fucking hard. Like, at one point, one of my slave owners, it was the resources I was getting was this knowledge. And yes, it was the only place I could have gotten it. It was before 2001. There was no other way to get it. So now that again, your self-enslavement in exchange for a resource, because I knew I had no other way to get it, because I'd already exhausted all other knowledge in my resources. And I do fucking mean all of it. So I did consent to a deal with the devil to get the information I needed to get my fucking ass out. And then I was able to use it on him, get the fuck out in 5 years. That's what I did in 2001. The only thing I was entrapped in, and then it was, and this was it, is because I knew my mental illness was interfering with my ability to get work. I knew I could not get work. I still worked. I could not work for very long, but I got really good at selling myself, getting a job, staying with a job for. It was funny because the worse my mental illness got, the less I could work. Not funny, of course. It's that way. It's quite predictable. So that is the difference between free will and stupid. A lot of stupid people claim that they didn't have a choice when they're just stupid. And to somebody who really didn't have free will, it's offensive. It's really fucking offensive. I love her little hats. So we also have little hats. So cute. So that's the kind of stuff that, that's it right there. So now when you look at, I want to kind of like bring this in, and I'm like exploring all the components, assessing everything. Right, we're talking about the gender. So it's not gender, it's nurturer, provider, warrior. And still trying to learn how to turn down that warrior, turn off. I know the warrior is turned off. I know I'm in the provider section, and I'm trying to move into the nurturer section so I can have full balance. Like, my warrior is long since past turning that off more and more every day. My problem is I've got these dumbasses who are romanticizing multiple personality disorder. That's just fucking disgusting. And then I've also got these people who are just stupid, claiming that they're victims. And it's like, no, you're not. You're free. You're just stupid. There's a difference. Big fucking difference. So, and I think that's really it, is for somebody who's literally been every fucking kind of slave there is, to hear assholes talk about slavery really fucking pisses me off. And I'm going to say it. The one thing that really fucking pissed me off, no, I won't say it. I will not give any time to that. So slavery is, most people don't have a fucking clue. They just don't have a fucking clue. They're just stupid. And I've gotten into what about, some people have asked me this, what about feeling the pang of your ancestors and ancestral trauma? So we call that a double projection. This is not common knowledge. This is something you should not know about until you're educated. This is something where I am legitimately going to say, this is confusion. This is pure confusion. This is nothing you could have learned to figure this out. This is something I had to figure out. So this is what we refer to as confusion. And this is probably one of the few things that is a legitimized type of confusion, is the ancestral trauma. First of all, ancestral trauma is absolutely bullshit. But you don't know that. So we're going to clear this up to explain what it is. A person who is literally enslaved due to multiple personality disorder will feel the slavery and the lack of free will inside of them. So then when they hear about a slave situation, whether or not they are ancestral, they will relate to that slavery. The relatability is the subconscious mind trying to hint at the conscious awareness, dumbass, you're not free, you're a slave. But those words are really dangerous. So the subconscious mind will then enter into self-preservation so that it will protect you while also trying to educate you. And as a result, it will make a situation like an image or a picture relatable to communicate to you that you're not free. So if you have a past that, or a present where you literally are not free, your subconscious mind is going to make that double projection where it projects onto your or someone else's ancestral trauma, and then they will project it back via a relatability to try and communicate exactly like a dream, using image to communicate an emotional message. And that is what's going on, is you are receiving an emotional message that you are not translating properly. As a result, when you are over-related to suffering, enslavement, trauma, anything, it is because you are enslaved or you are experiencing or have experienced that trauma. And instead of dealing with your own trauma, you are projecting it, this is why it's a double projection, back onto your ancestors, and now you are adopting their trauma. Instead of reading the message the right way the first time, you double project, oh my God, I'm just like them, because you want the relatability. You want the relatability because you have been severed from any kind of identity. So that is where you get into ancestral trauma. That is where you're getting into, it's a type of PTSD. It's actually like a double PTSD. It's a double projection. You have a logic loop. The logic loop is basically causing you to go back one way with the logic and then the other way with the logic and then bringing it back around. Double projection. So that is where, and again, this is highly advanced. This is on the level of extortionism. So the kind of troubleshooting or problem solving you're going to need to overcome or get through extortion or blackmail is the same level you're going to need to get rid of ancestral trauma. Really fucking events. This is called mental displacement, or I'm sorry, mental diversification. Mental diversification is the subconscious mind skills to command, control, and use the subconscious mind effectively. It is a fucking discipline. There's just no other way to it. So you'll have double projections. You'll have projections themselves. You're going to have, it's a lot. It's a lot. We're going to be covering it. That is actually one of the most primary things we cover here. Ooh, leaves now. That is one of the things we're going to be covering a lot here is the mental diversification. So I don't know what to call this whole segment today. It covered a wide range, but at the same time, it was very, very honed in and precise. And I'm going, wow, this was very honed in and precise. But free will, like, and that's it right there, is you cannot, you can't even go forward without acknowledging that either you have free will or you don't. Either you are violating someone's free will or you don't. The moment your child says, I don't want to go to school, game over. Game over. Now you've got the question, are you going to violate your child's consent? Because that's rape if you do. And that's it right there. And then there's the whole, well, we all have to do something that we don't want to do sometime. No, we fucking don't. No, we fucking don't. Nor should we. Now, there's going to be laws. There's going to be societal expectations. And this is really where you need to get right down to it. Is it a law or is it a societal expectation? If you have a child who is less than, I believe it's 17 years old or 16, I don't know the age group, who does not want to attend school, you are officially entering into the danger zone of free will and non-consent. Now we're getting into rape. So your child doesn't want to go to school and they're less than 17 years old, depending upon where they live. Big question now, isn't it? Really big question. The other question is, how do you get a child to want to consensually go to education? You have to give them free will to do so. Because now you're entering into the power dynamic. And as soon as you compromise the power dynamic, you're fucked. The only way to preserve free will is to never enter into the power dynamic. The moment you engage in the power dynamic, game over, you've lost. Because now you're playing the stupid game of power dynamic. Now you've got a catch-22 happening and you're caught in a logic loop. A power dynamic is a logic loop of stupid fucking insanity and non-consent. There's nothing else. It is stupid insanity with non-consent. So it's raping stupid insanity. That is what the power dynamic. There is no other word for it. It is stupid raping insanity. It is void of logic, it is void of education, and it is void of consent. Power dynamic is raping stupid insanity. I'm sticking by that one. So the moment you have a child that says, I don't want to go to school, game over. Now your only choice is enter into the power dynamic, which is the raping stupid insanity. Or you give the consent to the child. Are you really giving consent to the child? Is that something you have the authority to do, is to give or take consent from someone else? Oh, let's talk about the ethics of that conversation. You see how this whole thing gets into a nightmare. The moment the child is free, oh, they will run to education. But if you are stupid enough to put a law in place that's going to compromise that part of the individual, you're done. You are absolutely done on this. This is the ethics of education, ethical education. This is what this is really about, is ethical education. And right now, I'm going to tell you right now, 100% of American education is fucking unethical as hell. It is raping stupid insanity, which is why you've got a rape culture. Because your educational system is a rape culture. It came from your educational system, which bears the mark of Cain, because it came from the British Empire, which came from the Holy Roman Empire, which came from the Roman Empire, which came from Romulus when he killed his brother. You thought that was a good model to go, ooh, let's build an entire community off of this guy. That is why education is so important. So you know where your fucking education is coming from. Guess what? Yours came from Cain. But you didn't know that. You didn't go back into the history to research where your education was piecemealed from. I did, which made me even go, wow, I really don't want that educational system. That's not an educational system. That is garbage. I have to clarify, the educational system is not the academic disciplines, reading, writing, arithmetic. That is not your educational system. Your educational system is how it is taught. Not what is taught, how it is taught. The curriculum is what is taught. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how it's taught. The curriculum doesn't need to change. The system needs to change. Completely different conversation. So when you are doing homeschooling, it is vital that your child be given 100% absolute open free will when it comes to their education. Now, in addition to that, the most important thing is their mental health. If their mental health suffers, the very first thing that's going to happen is they will not learn. You must take care of their mental health in order to have a learning environment. Now, that is not going to be in every case, but that is going to be most likely. They must feel psychologically safe to be vulnerable to learn. So you need to achieve psychological safety so that they feel safe enough to learn. Now, I never had this problem. I never, ever entered into a power dynamic with my education. I had the opposite problem. I wanted to learn more than what they were giving me. So the law of you're not allowed, you have to go to school, that never interfered with my education. That was never a factor. I supplemented my education and I was able to magnify it and turn it into what I wanted to do. So I did. So I loved going to school. I loved education. I loved learning. And I made sure I had the resources to do that. It was not in question. I blame my mother. My mother, my father's the one who fought me on whether or not I could or shouldn't have books. And then that turned that into a forbidden fruit at one point where I was like, oh, now I really want Les Miserables. But again, that's so my father hated education, which turned it more into I'm definitely pursuing this. But when you force the education, now that's something I never did with my children. That's not true. I did do that early on.
Yeah.
I did do that a lot early on. And then I learned to back the way the fuck off. And then I became like a whole, you do whatever you need to do. And I left it alone. And that's when my daughter's education like skyrocketed. And she's like, I want to learn everything. And I'm like, okay. It's extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. Do like literally give them free will. The mind will naturally go toward it. The mind will naturally go toward it. Do not force your children to learn. Now, there's also perfection or there is learning. This is something else I learned. This is something I'm working on, is you have your learning mindset, which is your Asha, which is your pursuit of truth. Your pursuit of truth or your pursuit of Rata. That I just love saying. Pursuit of Rata, pursuit of truth, pursuit of Asha, your learning. So on the flip side of that, you've got perfection, you've got ignorance, you've got arrogance, and you've got opinion. These are all the death of Asha, truth, Rata, and learning. And it's literally when you decide to step into the role of student, of Asha, of learning, what you are really doing is you are consciously choosing to step into the world of the dichotomy of good and evil, the dichotomy of love and truth versus lie and falsehood. As soon as you make that conscious choice, that's really what you are undertaking, is whether or not you want to step into this or not. And there's the downright faults, and then there's the lies. there is, and I'm just going to say the not truth. And then there's the lies. And then you're going to have the pretenders. You're going to have the delusional. And every one of these, at the end of the day, has free will to learn. And that's really what it comes down to, is free will to learn. But it's going to cost them their ego. This is the only thing that they are contending with, is their ego. And this is where I went through a really difficult time of, can they be taught? No, they cannot be taught. They are not consenting to the lesson. And this is where it got difficult, because they said they wanted to learn without actually doing the learning. What they wanted was actually ego stroking. So they manipulated the word learn, truth, and education, and they replaced it all for egotistical arrogance. And it took me a while to realize, oh, they're not actually wanting to learn. They're just wanting ego stroking. Yeah, we don't do that. So then it was a defining the standard or the criteria for who I would be willing to teach, who I would be willing to walk through, all that jazz. And this is not at all about money. That is not. What we would be looking at is basically, and I'm going to go back to what Plato did, let no man who has not studied geometry enter these walls. I disagree with Plato. I disagree with him on a few fronts, and this is one of them. I say, if no man who has not studied logic. If you have not studied logos, you do not belong here. Now, I have it set up so that there's a preliminary, so that if you want to get here, we've got the steps for you. This is vital. So I have this is what is outside our doors, and then we have inside our doors. So here's how this works. I know your educational system did not at all prepare you for any of this. I know. Believe me, I know. So if you are starting off at 0% knowledge, if you are coming fully stupid and you want this, but you've got an ego in the way, we got you covered. There is literally the outside, which I refer to as Triadic Healing Part 1 and Part 2. They are free. They are available on my website. And that is also what this is. This is Triadic Healing Part 1, Triadic Healing Part 2. That is the process. That is the outside part. That is getting you from the point of stupid to the point of now you can be accepted inside. It's the part of being enrolled or accepted. Now, once you are inside, that's where Triadic Healing Part 3 opens up, Part 4, and Part 5. Part 5 is where Arcana begins. Part 4 is the philosophy. Part 3 is romantic. Oh, no. Greekant. Thank you. Greekant. Greekantic. Yeah, Grecian love. Grecian. We'll call it Grecian. So it's not romantic, it's Grecian. So we have Grecian, and we have, Grecian love. We have wisdom love. Actually, that's what I call it, is wisdom love. So that's what we get when we step into this world, when you get in the inside. But it's, again, prerequisitional. I've already had a lot of people, and they're trying to jump over into, well, I want Part 3. Fuck you. Go do Part 1 and Part 2. And Part 1 and Part 2 is literally the preparation for the advanced shit. Now, here's the thing. Triadic Healing Part 1 cures your mental illness. Triadic Healing Part 2 makes you wealthy. It gets you abundance, and it takes care of literally cultivation, nurturing, and how to connect with other people. So that's the stuff that you really fucking need no matter what. That is literally everything you should have learned in school and didn't. There's no arcana in that. There's no magic. That is just fix your fucking brain. Get yourself out of Rome. That's all that is. Once you cross over into Part 3, there is basically a vetting process before you can come over. And once you come over, there is basically a humiliation test. which guarantees you are not bringing an ego into here. So there is the, what is it? Hazy. We're going to haze. There's a hazing. There's a hazing. It's ethical hazing. That's what we're doing. We're doing ethical hazing. That's right. You want in ethical hazing. It just, there you go. That's what we've got. You got an ethical hazing test you have to pass. There you go. Ethical hazing. So, and that's it. Triadic healing part 1, triadic healing part 2, and then ethical hazing. And then you're in. And that's it right there. Logic is strictly followed in here. And that's it. And that's where we get into all the other stuff. So that is what we are walking you through with triadic healing part 1. This is what we're walking you through with triadic healing part 2. This is where we are going with this. I know I wrote a list of everything that we're going to be covering, and I feel like I did not touch on that list at all, which is okay. It just means I do have to go back to make sure I don't want to miss this at all. I have also the 2,000-year-old War on Education. That course is free, and that gives you the entire order of operations, the entire history with cited resources to show you where I'm pulling my material from so that you can cross-check all of my references from Solomon all the way to where I am now and why, all in the correct order of operations. And yeah, that's it. One of the rules here, we do not use the word witch, warlock, or sorcerer. Those 3 words are not, no. I did the research on those yesterday, and I went, okay, those are really contaminated with filth. No, they're not allowed in. If it is Christian made, it's not allowed in here. Christ's work came from King Solomon, not from Christianity. Christianity came from Rome. If it is Christian, it is not in here. It will not be allowed because it's not Christian at all. It's not Christ. Christ is King Solomon. So, sage, mage. Oh, see, that's gorgeous. Stupid, apprentice, tradesman, master, philosopher, sage, mage. There it is. I knew there was another one. I'm like, I know there's going to be another one over there. I don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be something. So you go philosopher, then you go sage, then you go mage, which is why the words are so like identical. There it is. Wizard is philosopher, sage, and mage on. I am officially a fucking wizard. That is, yeah, yeah. So says the dictionary. Wizard, philosopher, or sage. And I'm like, yes, wizard. So yeah, and Asha begins at sage level. Asha, you are an Ashavan when you hit sage. You absolutely. You hit Ashavan when you hit sage. That I could feel that start up. And I went, ooh, because that's exactly when the Arcana world opened up. And I went, ooh. So yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, I wrote a list of like things I need to cover. Yes, here it is. Okay, so what is free will? We did cover that one. Check. Growth, wisdom, truth, logic, love, code, logic. We went over the logical codes, the academic logical code chains. I did that this morning. No, I did that yesterday also. So that's that. Yes. Philosopher Sage, covered that. How to watch TV. We're going to be covering that. That's the one. Natural words. That's the other one. So I want to hold on to the how to watch TV and the natural words. We covered free will. Pure love. Yeah, I covered pure love yesterday. Constant truth. Okay, yeah. Informative, future, past conversation. Logic and magic. I'm still trying to figure out the core. I did find out that logos is more and more linked to Iran, Persia, and the Vedic, and Hindu. I found logos over there. So I'm going to continue to look for logic to see where that root is from. Okay. And then, yep, that's covered. That got covered. I'm going to hold on to pure love for a minute just to make sure. Love words versus the mark of Cain. That's an ongoing project. We talked about consumption, jealousy, obsession, possession, consumption. I have not been able to reverse engineer jealousy, which is why I keep going back and forth on it going, I can't figure out what it is. It is so fucking highly complex. I have not been able to find it. And I'm going, wow, what the fuck is jealousy? I don't know. I can't find it. I've been looking for it and I am still looking for it. I love myself. Myself loves me, manifestation. So I have my recommended reading list that's available on my website. My recommended reading list is more than just a reading list. It's actually your entire assignment. So we have the great books, the assignments, we have Truth Purge Challenge, we have Logic, we have the assignment Logic, we have the assignment Humanity, and we also have manifestations and spells. So right now, one of the spells we are doing is I love myself and myself loves me. And this is absolutely one of the manifestations we have for healing. The next one I want to give you is show me the next step. Show me the next step is a huge, huge manifestation. And this refers to the next step in your journey toward Asha, your Asha journey. Let's call it your Asha journey. I like that. In your Asha journey. I love everything about that. So show me the next step. This refers to the next step in your Asha journey. So if you ever get stuck, you can literally just say, show me the next step. And it's, I want the solution. I want the solution. The other thing is, yeah, no, that's it. Between show me the next step and I want the solution, that is literally how you manifest wisdom. Manifest wisdom is the smartest thing you can do. Manifest wisdom. If you manifest wisdom, manifest truth. Oh, good God, you will see your life change when you do that. Manifest wisdom, manifest truth, manifest answers. Manifest direction or guidance. That is literally all I did from 1984 and on. That's all I did. I literally manifested all of my fucking education, all of it. And I always ended up in front of the right book, in front of the right story, in front of the right tutor at always the right time. Because I always manifested for wisdom, truth, answers, direction, guidance. It's the value of Rata above all else. Rata above all else. And then Asha above all else for Rata. And that's it over and over again. I have no fucking doubt in my mind that is what King Solomon did. I have no doubt that that's how he did it. When I went back and I was looking through all of the legends and all of the written material, I'm going, it sounds like he just manifested wisdom, which is exactly what I did. And when you manifest wisdom, this is the shit you get. So, and then he did what I did and he turned it into a temple school. So constant truth is the only. The second era, Zoroaster, right up to the second era CE, is spot on. It is absolutely spot on. When I look at Zoroaster now, I was looking at it, and it's definitely way off par. It's a 2,000-year-old game, and I went, oh yeah, that's not the same thing. It's related, it's similar, but I have a lot of problems with a few of the stuff they say. Well, like obedience, that one is a big, obedience is a big problem, just like with Buddhism, there is the concept of you want to get to nirvana, and then there is the where are you in that journey? And I will say it for the first and millionth time, you've arrived when you can literally see the science of arcana. That's when you're there. If you can't fucking see the science of Arcana, where you can break it down and explain in actual theoretical, here's the science behind this shit, you're not there. You are nowhere near there. You are near there. Like, I can see the science, but I have to still write it down. I have to still translate it. I am just now at the edge of Arcana. And I'm going, oh yeah, this is Ashavan. This is Ashavan. This is it right here, is when you can see it. Now I'm going to go on to the next stage and become a mage. And this is the other thing, is you can only ever see just the next stage. So if you can see master, if you are looking at somebody who's a master and aspiring to be you're a tradesman. And this is really it. When I was a master, I remember aspiring to be a philosopher. When I was a philosopher, I remember aspiring to be a sage. I am a sage. I am now aspiring to be a mage. And I'm going, yes, that's my next stage. I'm going to be a mage. There's going to be something beyond that. I have no idea what the fuck it is. We have no one in the world that's ever been this far. I mean, this far, yes, but not that far. So there's going to be like a whole nother level of mage after that. And that's what I want to be. And then I want to be to the next one after that. So this is the best part, is I got to this part at 40 years old. And I'm going, yes. So I'm very excited. I have an hypothesis that God might be beyond mage, but I don't know. So yeah. The other thing, and this is something I'm going to be screaming a lot of forever, is there is no doing magic without science. There is no doing magic without science. There is no bullshit here that you can tell yourself. Alchemy is chemistry, specifically organic chemistry. I'm still trying to hypothesize the ethical value of inorganic chemistry. I'm still sniffing around the ethics of inorganic chemistry. But organic chem, yeah, I can feel it. I can feel that moves into alchemy. Magical creatures. Well, I've seen you guys make ligers, so yeah, ethical integrity is required for conversations about this is why the ethics are so fucking vital, is because when you start getting into this kind of power and ability, these skills, whether or not, I remember it was something I saw on television once. It was, you did X without ever stopping to ask. Oh yeah, it was Jurassic Park. But you were so excited that you never stopped to even ask if you should. And that's where I'm at. I'm looking at this going, should we do this? Yes, we should. Why should we do it? Because we want to. Why do we want to do it? Because Mother Nature says so. Because she gave us the desire to do it. How to do it ethically? And that's the question. It has to be done ethically. It's not a question of whether or not we should do it. It's a matter of, can it be done ethically? Because if you're not doing it ethically, then you should not be doing it at all. But you cannot remove the ethics from this entire equation. This is mandatory. Otherwise, you've created a clone child. Now, what's the parental rights of this child? No, now you got problems. Now you're running into a whole bunch of things. It's the abortion issue all over again. It's okay to rape, but it's not okay to abort children. What the fuck? Fix your rape issue, assholes. I mean, come on, that's not hard. Really, it's not hard. No one is asking the question about the rape. No one is talking about the fact that 5-year-olds are pregnant. No, you're just talking about the abortion. No one's asking the question about why is rape so out of control. That's a bunch of Romans for you. So it's let's see you guys teach ethics to an unethical world and see how nice you'll be about it. The world is fucking insane right now. It's teaching logic to insanity. That's what I feel like my job is. I teach logic to insanity. I teach ethics to the unethical. Well, you guys aren't ethical. You guys are not unethical. No, if you were unethical, you wouldn't be here. So it's I looking up at the mountain. I have a long way to go. It's all right. You're all right. I don't have a long way to go. You guys have a long way to go. I don't. So right. And we're also doing the Truth Purge Challenge, which is go on YouTube, create a podcast, and tell the truth. Tell what was done to you. Talk about everything. Just talk. You're supposed to be practicing talking. I'm going to be covering talking in the history of talking. I have a lot to say about talking. So talking is going to get its own flashcard. So talking. We are going to talk about talking. So fucking huge. Because when I show you the example that I've got for you and you go, holy fucking shit. Yep, I know. Yep. You should be walking as well as you walk and run. You can measure how good your talking is when you compare it to your walking and running skill. So look at your walking and your running skill, and that is how good your talking should be. Most of you are equivalent to a toddler in your talking skills. Most of you are equivalent to a 2 or a 3-year-old in your talking skill. Some of you have managed to get to 4 years old in your talking skill, which is why the vocabulary is so shitty. It's why your ability to communicate and articulate is so shitty. It's because you are equivalent to a 2 and a 3-year-old when it comes to your communication skills, which is your ability to transfer what is inside of you over to the other playing. It is literally circuitry. And once we get into talking, now we're looking at circuitry, which is the beginnings of linguistics, and spell work, which is the prerequisite for logic, which gets into spell work. So circuitry is absolutely talking first. Talking is all about circuitry. And circuitry is all about human connection. This is all like the 7th ethic is observe, watch, listen, Socratic method. The 8th ethic is all about talking. The 9th ethic is learning how to toggle between listening and talking to make a connection to have human circuitry. So that is definitely something. So these are my cards for what we are going to be covering. If ever I lose focus, I can stay on task. Yeah, and I want to revisit this. Logic is quality control communication. So, yeah, these have already been covered. Boop. All right. Yeah, so I just go through my cards every day just to make sure I'm covering everything and I'm tracking everything. And of course, we have the, again, make sure you have your coloring books, crayons, stories, music, finger paints, drawing, sculpting, Play-Doh, singing, talking, theater, stage, make-believe, storytelling for your children. That is mandatory. Every fucking household should have this. Every teacher should have this in the classroom. This is mandatory for basic learning. There should be no schedule. It's all free form. It's really important that it's free form because when it's free form, it's free will. It also teaches the child to prioritize. It teaches the child independence. It teaches the child to cure their own boredom. It teaches the child to not rely on an adult saying when they have to be somewhere. Get rid of the fucking bells and the schedules inside schools. Dumbest thing ever. You are teaching them how to literally have classical conditioning. So there's going to be a list at some point of everything you need to immediately stop doing in a classroom in order to immediately take action. A classroom should look like a giant kindergarten room. Every classroom should always look like a giant discovery center and a kindergarten room. You should have story time. The teacher should have story time. And then the teacher should give the children the opportunity to choose story time or not. So ideally, you should have two teachers, one doing story time, one doing, well, I would do full participation. And then you would have a third monitor, literally like, let's say an observer. Well, let's go an NPC. An NPC would be great. So the story time person would be somebody who basically provides it. It would be equivalent to somebody who stands in the front as, I'm going to say the leader, but it's not the leader. It's the one who's basically going about their own path. This person needs to be the student example. This person, this is what I do. This is like when I do my research, and I do my research right here with you, and I'm like looking up words, and that's it right there. So you're going to want a role model, somebody who's actually a student with the child. The next one is the leader who leads in the back. And this person is the person who goes through a routine of, I'm going to go through it all day long my way, and have it set up so that both the role model and the leader go through the course their own way. And actually, both of them set them up their way. Have it set up so that, even I would recommend doing it in a conversation status. So you ask the students, okay, this is everything we need to cover. So then it would say, here's all the options and here's all the resources. And I would have all fucking 14 of them available. I would definitely have the music logical code, the art, the linguistics, the comprehension, the communication. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I would, in addition to that, have it set up so you have science communicators, art communicators, and story communicators. So you're going to have your art, science, story communicators. You're going to have it set up for those logical codes of music, art, linguistics, and then it's literally free for all. Now you're going to have someone who follows, you're going to have some children who follow the role model. You're going to have some who follow the leader in the back leaders. Yeah, back leaders are great. So you're going to have some kids who follow the back leaders. You're going to have some kids who follow the role model. Now, in addition to that, you're going to want your discovery center, your genie bottle, and you're going to want your kindergarten room. So the kindergarten room is where everything primarily takes place. You could even have it so what the role model is in the discovery center and the back leader is in the kindergarten room, and then they swap. You could even do it that way. The genie bottle is where the kindergarten room has this alternate option where people can go in the back and just be alone and quiet if they need this. Now, it is vital that children have the ability to choose between Discovery Center, kindergarten room, genie bottle at all times. In addition to that, they also have the ability to choose between music, art, linguistics, on any of those logical codes at all time. And they also have the ability to communicate in science, art, story. So a storyteller is going to do all of music, art, linguistics, everything by a story. And they're also going to rotate between Discovery Center, kindergarten room, and also genie bottle via story. You're going to want the role model and the back leader working together so that the child will always have the option to follow when they need the security of following, but they also need the ability to go off and be independent and create their own group if they want. So you're going to want the children to try and create their own groups. They're going to do this naturally. You don't have to encourage them. Ideally, the role model and the back leader both need to be in the role of an NPC. The NPC is, if you have a question, then, or if you need inspiration, and it would be get inspiration, get direction, that is where you're going to want to go to an NPC. That's the third monitor. That is so the role model and the back leader can do what they need to do, but the NPC moderator is available for providing inspiration, not suggestion. Not suggestion. This is basically the person who who teaches you how to learn. And their goal is to inspire, literally just pure inspiration. And that's where it's, I'm frustrated. What are you frustrated about? And I would put it so the NPC only asks questions. And I would put them as the NPC is actually a sage. where it's strict, only ask questions. The questions are to, and they will, incite curiosity, wonderment, and the child will go off. If the child is still stuck, then you give the child a quest. So you would become a quest giver at times. The quest is designed, and I have quests, I write those up. The quest would be designed to have the child pursue activities to figure out what it is they are and who they are. The agenda of all of this is Asha, self-wisdom, for the child to learn who and what they are in these circumstances through trial and discovery. Answers are not ever to be given. Answers are only ever to be discovered or explored. Nothing else. Don't you ever give an answer. Don't you ever fucking give an answer. You are allowed to give tools. You are allowed to give instruction. You are to verbally give instruction only. You are only to give tools so they can find the answers. So you are the person giving them the archaeological tools of wisdom. You are training archaeologists. That is what you are. You are the archaeologist trainer. All teachers are archaeology trainer. You are actually Asha archaeologists. That is what a student is an Asha archaeologist. That is what you are, an Asha archaeologist. And your job is to give the tools to the child so that the child can become an Asha archaeologist. You are not to be digging out this stuff for the child. That is not education. The child has to learn how to dig out Asha on their own. So Asha archaeologists. So you are training Asha archaeologists. Students come into your classroom and it is, hello, welcome. You are officially an Asha archaeologist. We're going to teach you how to find wisdom. We're going to teach you how to dig up wisdom. We're going to teach you how to find wisdom. We're going to teach you how to use your brain so you can get more wisdom, because you are going to pursue the truth, because it is your Asha journey. Your Asha journey is vital to your mental health and development. And that's where you launch into we're going to tell you about the time we were all so stupid we almost died. And that's where you launch into the story. From there, you then break it down to what is education? Why should you learn? What is learning? Let's talk about Solomon and what happened with his situation, why we are in the situation we are in today. And then it's how to learn. As soon as you are done teaching how to learn, lesson's over. They're on their own. They know the rules. They have all the equipment they need. They don't need anything else. They are officially Asha archaeologists. So your goal is to get your student from birth to Asha archaeologist, which means your job as a teacher and parent is to prepare your child for Asha archaeology. If you want to be a healer, if you are a coach, then your job is to be the parent and the teacher that they never had. So you are literally adopting them on as a zero, an infant, up to 5 years old, and you are preparing them into the Asha journey, Asha archaeology. So no matter how you cut it, either you are a parent and you're starting fresh. Great job. Awesome to have you here. You are a teacher trying to build a proper school, or you are trying to transfer it from what you've got over to this method. Okay, fantastic. The next one is going to be the healer. You are looking at restoring or repairing, and you are literally playing the same role as parent. Teacher is literally just secondary to parent. They should be mirroring what parents are doing 100% of the time. Parent is the number one. Teacher is the number two. Healer is okay, I got to pretend to be the parent because they never had one. So a healer needs to take on the role of parent and assume that they are dealing with an infant to a 5-year-old. And now you are going to get Asha archaeology. Asha archaeology leads you down through the equipment. Now that's all that Triadic Healing Part 1 does. Triadic Healing Part 1 does nothing but provide everything you need for the Asha archaeology. It literally is all the stools. It's all done. All the tools. It's all done. So now, if you are a business owner, there are 2 ways you can go. First of all, that's going to be Triadic Healing Part 2, getting your business set up. So you need to make sure that you, the business owner, are first taken care of. The business owner is a cultivator. Your cultivation, your client, is your patrons and your employees and your staff. So you are going to be literally, this is the best thing. Assume for a minute that everyone has had Asha archaeology. Well, suddenly the way you do business is completely obsolete because you don't have to spoon feed them because they have Asha. So they're going to do their own selling. You don't have to sell anymore. They're going to do their own figuring out. You don't have to do anything anymore. All you have to do is, here's an announcement, hear ye, hear ye. That's all you have to do is make announcements and you're all set. You don't have to convince anybody of anything. And because you have your community, now you've got word of mouth. So all you have to do is focus on developing people with your own philosophy. So it's equivalent to starting your own philosophical school. Literally, every time you start up a business, it's equivalent to you starting up your own philosophical school. But if you don't know anything about any of this, you're going to have a really shitty time doing this. But really, business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, these are all another variation of cultivation. So parent, teacher, healer, business owner, these are all under the category of cultivator. Now, if you are here as a pilgrim, as a philosopher, as a discipulus, or you're here for your own healing, if you're here for your own healing and you don't want anything more, just Triadic Healing Part 1. I really recommend Triadic Healing Part 2 because that's going to teach you how to connect with other people, but definitely Triadic Healing Part 1, Part 2. Now, pilgrims, philosophers, and discipulus, this is the Asha journey. This is the full Asha journey. And this is where you are looking for Rata. And now this is where you are getting into Triadic Healing Part 3, 4, and 5. Now, I only work with these people. I only work with people who are 3, 4, and 5. That is my area. That is my happy place. I invented, created, discovered this whole other thing over here with Part 1 and Part 2 for everybody else. But those are not my people. That is available for anyone to come and use and then leave if they want. They can stay. But I'm really for 3, 4s, and 5s, which is why I'm so angry, bitter, and just like, I don't want to deal with 1 and 2 because those are not my people. My people are 3, 4s, and 5s. That's where I'm ready to sit down and like, okay, let's dig this out. But I can't do that in good ethical consciousness until I make sure that everyone has the ability to come over. So where our university differs from everybody else is this. You come to a university's door, they say, these are the prerequisites, go away once you fill them. We don't do that. We don't do that. You come to our door, we say, these are the prerequisites. We're going to start you off with Part 1, Part 2, because we know you're showing up without any Asha training. And then we're going to get you into 3, 4, and 5 if you want to. Other people can come in and say, I'm just here for the healing. Great. There's 1 and 2. Help yourself. It's all automated. It's all DIY. It has to be. Once you get through that, then we welcome you into 3, 4, and 5 if you want it. So if you want to be 3, 4, and 5, you cannot skip 1 and 2. And this is where I ran into a lot of stupid people thinking that they well, I'm a this, so I can just no 1, 2, and 3. Those are your options. You're no exception. There is no exception. No one is exempt from Triadic Healing 1 and 2. No one is exempt from 1 and 2. There's just, this is not allowed. And I've already gotten people who are angry, who are aggressive, who are pissy because they want 3, 4, and 5, but they won't go through 1 and 2. So 3, 4, and 5 is where I talk about the abstract. 3, 4, and 5 is where I talk about magic. And 3, 4, and 5 is where I get into the arcana over here. And if you have not completed 1 and 2, I am not available to you to talk about abstract magic or arcana. I am not here for your little ego. I don't do that shit. I don't do that shit for my ego, let alone anyone else's. So I don't do that. And that is going to be a boundary, a fourth ethic that I have to have for myself because I was being taken advantage of because I was not strict enough with this. So there's a lot of people who believe their crown chakra is open. I'm going to say it again. Did an EMF pulse go off over your head and knock you to the ground? It did with me. So I'm going to sit here and go, I just don't know. Either I'm special or your crown is not open. We got to figure out which. You're in the 7th ethic when? you can describe to me the abstract without me telling you what it looks like. If you have to hear the stuff and go, wow, no, failed. If this is new to you, you're not there. It's when you can see it and you know it without me. That's why when I look at all of this stuff, I go, yeah, that's right. It's because I'm looking at it. So when I read physics, I can see it. So I'm reading what I'm already looking at, so it's boring. It's like reading a description of the Empire State Building while you're standing in front of it. That is the difference. So if I'm saying this stuff to you and you're looking at it and you're not surprised because you're looking at it, it means that your seventh ethic is open, that your crown is open. However, you don't need to be humbled. You know the difference between self-esteem and arrogance without my telling you. If you are here to learn, well, that's just it. You're learning because it's not open. When it opens, everything I've said, you'll see it. I got to a point where I stopped documenting because I went, what's the point? By the time people get to this point, they'll be able to see it. Why am I telling them? A little part of me wants to be like, I really don't want to tell you guys Arcana because once you get here, you'll be able to just see it and do it. I'm still on the fence of that one. I see, and this I very much see, my classes are more of a discussion of, so this is where you guys are. What have you guys noticed? It's more of a sit down and comparison. It's a discussion. And that's really, it's a discussion because we're all comparing notes. Now that's where I am with physicists. I've got like quantum physicists and we're all sitting here talking and we're all comparing notes. And we're all looking for the common denominators with all of the physics. So we could sit down and go, okay, where's all the common denominators? Where does it all line up? So there's stuff like that going on. But really you can see it. You can physically see it. You more than feel it. You can define it. It's when you can, master level. There you go. Oh, so seventh is a master seer. Master seer. I learned so much knowledge without the ethics first. Either you learn from a book or you learn from nature. You cannot learn the ethics from a book. You can only learn the ethics from nature. You can only tuition from nature. If you do not tuition from nature, then you're not learning. If you are learning from a book, you're going to have to experience in order to tuition. I am a firm believer that this is the real reason why Christ had his crucifixion set up, because he had to suffer, because he was so sheltered from trauma. Mary did such a good job parenting him that he never suffered. And I believe that he had to go through the physical suffering in order to tuition the lesson. And I am a firm believer that the reason why his crucifixion, his execution was set up was for the sole purpose of, well, shit, I need knowledge X. And I can't get knowledge X without suffering. So I'm going to have to go through it. Now, I did it for 40 years. I had 40 years of fucking abuse. So I didn't have to go through a crucifixion. And he took that in 3 days. He took it all in 3 days. And I noticed when he rose again, he was on a whole nother level, which tells me he ethically integrated the lesson. Now, if you've gone through trauma, you have one of the requirements down. You have to fucking suffer to get through this on a level. The thing is, arrogance prevents the suffering. Denial prevents the suffering. Humility allows the suffering so you can learn the lesson. So we're back to humility again. You can learn from a book and never intuit. A great example of this is Kung Fu Panda. You saw the tiger go through the first course, and he was never the dragon warrior, and he ended up going to prison. That is an example of learning without learning. This is a thing, and I am trying to figure out how to explain it. Alexander the Great did the same thing. Alexander the Great went through the book learning, but he did not ethically learn it. He did not naturally intuit. And this is where I'm sitting here going, and I've watched people read my material and they love it and they're idiots and they go on not doing any of it. You have to experience it. That's the difference between reading about philosophy and doing philosophy. This is doing philosophy. This is experiencing it. True philosophy puts you inside of it for the experience. So now you're intuitive with nature. Philosophers today are just reading books. They're not doing it. There's no experience. So they're studying about it, but they're not learning it. They are collecting information, but not knowledge. And that right there is the difference. One is knowing, and the other is informing. If you need to know, and this is it, somebody has said this, you know it when you can give an improv lecture without any flashcards. This is it right here. This is it right here. Mastery. We're back to mastery. We're talking about the skill levels. Master. There is no flashcard. There is no flashcards. I have never, ever, ever had to sit here and read notes to you about the lesson because I didn't understand it. Never. I did not have to do that. I do not have to sit down and look up any fucking thing when I talk to you because I know it. I'm just translating it right out of my intuition. A shit teacher will have to check notes, refresh, memorize. Right there, that's shit education. Your goal is not to memorize the shit. Your goal is to integrate it into your intuition. And the only way to do that is through skill development. So that is what we are going to be covering, is skill development to put it inside your intuition. And this is what the 12 Trials of Hercules was all about. That is why he had his 12 Trials of Hercules, is because he was literally putting the 12 ethics inside of him. It's literally a how to become a god step 1. I went through the 12 ethics 3 rounds before I got to sage status. 3 rounds of the 12 ethics, and that gets you to sage. So yeah, that's like, it's vast. It's vast work. And most people who claim to be healed are in the 6th ethic, not even completed the 6th ethic on the first round, which is why I'm going, okay, you're like 10, 15% done, 10 to 15%. And that's being generous. Because in addition to going through the 12 ethics, you have to get to the point of comprehension, and then there is a period of adapting, and then you go through the expansions. When you go through the perspective expansion, that is when you get your trial. I was at the 9th expansion at the point of comprehension. So it was 36 plus 9, and that's going to be 45. So at 45, that is when, that is how I passed my final exam. I was at the 44th when I passed my exam, and then went on to the 45th. So yeah, that's it right there. Again, it's that ability to, and as far as milestones, the point of comprehension is Asha. And that is the first milestone to arrive at pure truth, the point of comprehension. So I would say that the second milestone, this is an hypothesis that I'm making, would be magical purity. I would say would be 36 levels of magic. Now that I can feel, that's correct. Oh, good God, did that just consistently, yep, that aligned with my logic. So I am looking at 36 levels of magical training for myself. And it began, like I said, I could only start to see it at 45 in, wow, the 9th ethic. Yep, that aligns with, that absolutely aligns with the point of comprehension. Now at the 42nd level, that is when you see what Douglas Adams had. That Douglas was at 42. Asshole signed it. And then 44 is where you can do it. That's where you can solve it. And then the 45th is when you unlock it and it passes the test. And that's when you can see magic. Son of a fucking bitch. That is beautiful. That is really beautiful. At the 6th ethic on the first round, the 6th ethic is when you can feel it. The 9th ethic is when you can see the abstract. That's when you can really see the abstract. And that's where I'm at now, where I'm going, okay, so and I could feel it at the 6th, which was, yeah, at the 42nd, I could feel the magic, but I couldn't see it. So yeah, from the 6th to the 9th. So it's almost as if there's another doorway here. That's really what it feels like but it's not a doorway. It is and it isn't. It's different. But I can feel it where I'm coming to the next. So it's literally in 3s and then it's 3s. So the first grouping of 3 is basically you being an ethical human being. The next one is mage. I want to say the next one's going to be God, but I know there's going to be another one in there. I can feel that. I can see it being like, and it's exciting because I can feel it. It's human. And then it is like, it's okay, this is your sage. It's up to your sage. And then from there, it's going to be from sage to mage. And then it's something else. And then it's going to be God. And I can't tell what that is yet. That's exciting. I'm like, ooh, what is that? That is something. So, but I also have this all done now. So I don't have to go back from the beginning and try. That was my biggest problem, was catch up, where I could feel my language changing. And I had to make sure that I got it all out there so I could play catch up, so that I could finally finish off and be like, okay, now I can just talk and be normal. And this all happened because I got to a certain point and I stopped talking about the journey itself. I instead talked about the science. So now I'm going to be like toggling back and forth on that, making sure that that's it. So I can still feel the 12 ethics like they are permanently, constantly rolling around there. What I also feel is this: the first time you go through it, it's all courage with the 12 ethics. And then the second time you go through it, it's all self-regulation with the 12 ethics. That's the hard part. And then the third time you go through it, I'm sorry, not self-regulation, it's self-authority with the 12 ethics. Then it's self-regulation. So where I'm at now is actually boundaries, and it's boundaries and self-law. This is all where I am right now with the 12 ethics. And then the next one is going to be accountability with the 12 ethics. That's going to be, so the first group, second group, and then third group. And that's where I hit the point of comprehension. So after the point of comprehension, you hit the 12 ethics, the boundary, self-love, the accountability, and then it will be equal footing, which is really, well, that's e-commerce. Yeah, that's going to be commerce, trade, justice. That's going to be the balance. That's what it is the equilibrium, the balance and the equilibrium. It's going to be justice. So magic is actually justice. See, that's nice. That's really nice. And then the next one is empathy. I can't touch that yet. I don't know. I can feel it. That's 7, 8, 9. I can feel that. That's when it's going to be human connection. I can feel that. I almost want to say that's when we can do ESB on a regular basis. And then after that, that's going to be emotional fluidity, emotional navigation. That would be God. So there's the mage. So there's human, mage, X, unknown, and then God. But again, that's only 4. So it's literally tracking our human evolution. That's what this is. We're tracking our evolution. It's really amazing, our mental evolution. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to go take my break, think about logic and everything. Thank you so much. I mean, the truth always finds you.